Greetings, Newhammer, Middle Hammer, and Old Hammer folks alike. I am OldGrumpyWolf, aka Lennon Midnight, and welcome to the Minibar Podcast. I'll be serving you up lots of awesome painting nerdiness, talking to other painters from around the web, and tonight at the bar, we have Paint is Yummy, aka Parker. What's up, dude? Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, man. Last minute, we talked in the DMs and we got it going.
Yeah, I'm like I said last night, I was supposed to do a podcast at 12 a.m. and that kind of fell through, and I was trying to get a hold of people to do one for today, and nobody responded. Then all of a sudden you're like, hey, when are we going to do that show? I was like, oh, want to do it in 10 minutes?
Yep, here we are.
So Parker, where are you in the U.S.?
I'm in Florida right now. I normally live in near DC, around DC. It's close enough that I can basically just say I live in DC, but
okay.
Right now I'm in Florida for school, doing classes over the summer, painting in my free time. Yeah. And
when you're in school, what do you major in, dude?
Marine science right now, but I've sort of found a passion for chemistry as I've taken classes. So a lot of people take marine science and then realize they don't like the chemistry and they jump up to some other major. I sort of did the opposite and sort of am steering towards more chemistry related fields, and I'm hoping to go to grad school for that.
What is it about chemistry that you really dig?
I don't know. I think I'm just really good at it right now, and I feel like maybe internally I feel like it might be a waste to not pursue it a little bit more, and I do find it interesting.
Okay.
And I mean, let's be real. I feel like chemistry, the pay might be a little better than what I'm going to be finding in marine science.
Do you see any correlation between what you do with miniatures and like maybe some of your chemistry stuff?
I think I'm a very visual and hands-on learner, so I think when it comes to like organic chemistry, it's a lot of molecules and you have to kind of visualize what you're trying to get, like through synthesis. And I think with painting, it's the similar skills sort of apply, where you're trying to visualize what your end goal is. You're to figure out what those steps are in the process to get to that. And I think it definitely has helped. I also think just the relaxation and sort of the mental break it is to paint sort of also has helped me.
Oh, lucky you! Like you found an outlet to like really get yourself out of the stressful situation and put yourself into a stressful situation like painting, but it's a little different that way.
A little bit.
So to dive into the show, the first question that I usually ask everybody is, what got you into hobby in miniature painting?
I think I'll probably have a similar story to a couple people, to some people. So back in 2020, there was this whole thing where we went into lockdown.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, it was kind of a dream for me, to be honest, because stay at home all day, play video games like 6 to 7 hours a day. Online school is kind of a joke. Didn't have to worry about it. And my parents were like, "You gotta do something." So I was originally, War Thunder, the game.
No.
Have you played that game? Okay. Well, it's
just to preface all this stuff, I don't actually play Warhammer. I've played 2 games my entire life.
Fair enough. Well, War Thunder is an online game, so it's like a plane tank shooter kind of game. And so
like first person or
third person, you're basically controlling a tank and shooting stuff or controlling a plane.
Oh, okay.
It's one of those freemium games. Like, it's similar to, have you played World of Tanks? You probably don't know any of this. No. It's
I play lots. I play lots of Metroidvanias, and I've played the hell out of Vampire Survivors.
Yeah, I've not played any of those. But I played a lot of essentially military sim games as well. Okay. So I got really into scale modeling. So I actually did maybe a full year of scale modeling. So I did a bunch of
cool.
World War II aircraft, some Cold War aircraft, I think. Yeah, and then doing that, I sort of started watching YouTube videos on how to do it, and then it sort of started to, my feed started to transition towards Warhammer. And probably about, I think, early 2021 was when I started to, get really into it and sort of went to the local Warhammer shop to pick up my first models. And, ever since then, it sort of just spiraled out of control into more Warhammer up until now. So
I'm kind of guessing the whole more realistic wargaming, like in scale miniature, like wargaming as in video games and the scale miniature stuff, is kind of the reason why you gravitate toward like the Krieg and Imperial Guard.
I think it probably, maybe in the back of my mind, it has something to do with that. I've never really thought about that, to be honest. I sort of started off with, as everyone does, Space Marines. because they're just, I mean, they're cool.
Yeah.
I like them. I like Black Templar. I didn't actually start with Black Templar.
It's the gateway drug.
It is. I did Ultramarines for a little bit just to like get my chops, just figure out what I actually wanted to do. And I eventually tried making my own custom chapter, and it just didn't look good. I wasn't satisfied with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I eventually, I got burnt out of Space Marines. I went to Chaos Space Marines, and I found a set in stone chapter that I liked, Word Bearers. I was like, I like these guys. I'm just gonna go with them, and that'll be my army. I did that for probably another, I think, probably after the 9th edition Codex came out was when I think 2022 is when I sort of went, I'm kind of getting a little bored of these, and I just started college, and I started to ramp up into Black Templars because I found them really interesting.
Oh, you actually, hold on. You'll like the previous episode before this, the guy that I had on. Dude is a phenomenal Black Templars painter. Like his stuff is insanely good. And I'm not a Black Templars fan at all, but like I'm looking at his stuff, I'm like, bruh, oh, those are good.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, I'll send you the link after the show.
Okay. After that, I sort of did Black Templars, I think for until early to mid last year.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, I was like, I really wanted to paint Imperial Guard. I saw Infernal Brush's heavy metal tutorial on how to paint them, and I'm like, this just seems fun, and I like the whole aspect of little guys I can put into ranks and sort of number and sort of have my own little army. And it's kind of led us up to here where I'm still doing Imperial Guard.
Okay.
Still going strong.
Yeah, I was looking at your Imperial Guard stuff, and it's actually really good. Like, you've got like this. I like kind of like how soft you are with like all your highlights and everything. You've got, you've got that box art style nailed, dude.
Yeah, thank you. I try to emulate it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can definitely see that in there. With the line infantry, I try not to go as like hard with the highlights.
Mm-hmm.
I still probably go farther than most people would, but I painted about, I think, 30-40 infantry, and it's it's a slog.
Oh yeah, I in the mid 2000s I decided to try and paint up like I literally have every Space Wolf figure made for 2nd edition. So yeah, I bet you can't guess what my favorite chapter is. But I was like, I'm gonna paint like to my tabletop standard. I'm gonna do the entire 2nd edition Space Wolf army, and yeah, I never finished it.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a lot.
How it goes. I never, in my mind, I'm like, yeah, this would be cool to have a full army, but I never, like, I don't know. There's just so many, like, obstacles to getting a full army painted.
Yeah.
I'm slow enough to the point where it's been a year, so I painted one, so a field ordnance battery is like a unit of 2.
Mm-hmm.
I painted one of those almost exactly a year ago, and I just finished up the second one, because I guess I was bored with it, and I just didn't want to do it. I just finished it, and I'm looking at it, it's like, ever so slightly different in terms of like the paint colors and the basing, even though I think I did everything the exact same way.
Yeah, it happens.
But it's not bad. They still look decent together, and you can see they still match.
Yeah, undertaking like painting a whole army, it's kind of nuts. Like that 5-man squad of beakies that I did for my display. The first one I think I did, I think I did it like July or August of last year. As part of a project that I started for myself, I wanted to do one RTB01 Beaky and then one RTB15 Mark 7 in my 3 favorite chapters. So I was going to wind up with 6 troops. And I did the RTB01s first as like color tests, and then did the RTB15 metal multi-piece Marines as like the final product. But I started the Blood Angel Beaky as that was the start of the project, I think. Maybe I did the Mentors first, but I think it was like it was in November. I just decided to do a second Beaky because he was sitting in primer on my desk, and I got the body painted, and he sat there unfinished until February, and I finished him. He's a Flamer Beaky, and I decided, I'm going to do 3 more and make a squad on a nice base and inside of a case and have something on my shelf. And I decided to batch paint the last 3 Beakies, and that's the first time I've really undertaken batch painting in 20 years. And I was like, oh God, this is taking so freaking long. But when I put them all together, I was like, okay, that was worth it. But I can't imagine doing that for like 30 or 40 models, man. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, so I guess when it comes to batch painting, you kind of have to it's not like a simple thing you can just undertake. You kind of have to think of the recipe and what you're going to do before you do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you will just get burnt out. The most I've ever done at one time is 4.
Okay.
So I haven't been doing, it's not like a 10 at a time because that would just destroy me.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a very regimented like sort of scheme for both the Krieg and the Cadians. So
Mm-hmm.
I airbrush as much as I can initially, do all my shading of like the airbrush layer, and then so on and so on. I have like a very specific set of steps that I can follow, and it normally helps reduce the amount of like, I guess, wear and like fatigue
Yeah.
that I would normally feel. And it's been working out pretty well. I haven't really gotten bored of painting them so far, so hopefully.
See, I kind of feel bad for you. Like I'm like so stuck in like OldHammer stuff. Like I'm kind of doing the same. Like, seeing guys like you who can do like box art perfect models in modern times is really cool. And I guess I'm kind of doing the same thing where we grew up with like Tim Prow, Mike McVeigh, and all those guys doing box art models. And I'm trying to paint to a standard now where I match or get better than the box art from the 90s. And I mean the models now, like they're so insanely detailed compared to like 90s and even 2000s models. It's kind of nuts. Like, and with you doing Imperial Guard, like just the sheer level of detail they've gotten into those miniatures now was nuts.
You do have to make some sacrifices when it comes to painting them. Like I'm not gonna, my metals, base coat, shade, that's pretty much it.
Oh, okay.
I'm not touching them again. It's enough as it is. And I don't really vary my metals that much as well. So like their knives, their like buckles, their gun, metal, it'll all be the same. I'll all paint that at the same time.
What do you
And
just
it
like
works.
base coat it with like Stormhost silver and then just hit Nolan oil?
I use natural steel.
Oh, you're an
Okay.
AK person. Sweet.
Well, I'm kind of like, I prefer AK, but I am like still very invested in GW.
Okay.
But,
Well, we're
like
definitely going to
AK
get to
a lot.
that in a little bit because
Yeah.
like I've been very curious about what you use. But rolling into the second question I have in here, did you get into you can't talk. Did you get into the hobby because of gaming or painting?
I think it was mainly painting because I came from scale modeling, but
Okay.
I also did find the game part very interesting, at least at first. And I went to, so I live in Northern Virginia, near DC, and there's this. I mean, I can name drop stuff, right? Like a location. It's not
Oh,
a
yeah.
big deal. So there's a store called Huzzah Hobbies. It's like sort of like my main store that I go to whenever I'm back home.
Mhm.
It's probably one of the best stores in Northern Virginia to go to, or near if you're near DC. Is a really big 40K community and kill team and pretty much everything. And I'm part of this. I guess it's called. It's kind of a gaming group. It's just a sort of. It's a Discord and sort of they organize events. It's called PCA, Plastic Cracks Anonymous. But it's one of the bigger groups in Northern Virginia. And before that existed in 2021, I just was wandering around, stumbling around at the at Huzzah Hobbies, and I met this very nice guy named Jim, and just out of the blue, just without any without me asking necessarily, he's like, you wanna play a game? I can meet you next Wednesday. I can teach you. I got my own models.
You do realize what you just said
and-
is how like horror movies start out, right?
I was 17, and I'm like, in hindsight, it's like maybe that was kind of a strange thing to do, but I trusted him, and Wednesday he showed up, I showed up, we played 2 games, and I got very into it, and I immediately bought more models. And he's been probably one of the pillars of people I sort of am like, thank you for doing this for me, because I don't think I would have gone as far as I am and like have as many friends as I do without getting just that little toe into the game.
Oh, funny thing is, like you're God 22 years younger than I am. You kind of start this thing in your youth, and then this happens with almost everyone I've talked to. Like you start it in your youth, and then it kind of like you get away from it. And then some point later on in your life, once if not twice, you meander back into it. And especially like when you hit, I don't know, your late 30s, early 40s, you know, hypothetically, you wind up getting stuck into college. You can't paint. You don't have time to paint. You got to write whatever you have to do for your degree that you're going for. Then you wind up working for a I don't know, marine biology lab. That's intense, and you spend the next 10 years of your life there. So I mean, you're already rolling into like your early to mid 30s, and you're like, God, I haven't touched brush to miniature in forever. I haven't looked at a Warhammer video in like years. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, I'm gonna break up my paints and start painting again. And you discover like all these people that like you kind of like the same age group with, who've just all rolled back into it. But there's always this thing in the back of your mind where it's like, you'll check in at Warhammer every so often, or Games Workshop stuff every so often. You're like, God, I can really miss that. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, just one day, you're like, you dig out your paints, you start painting, and it's like you just never stopped. You're like, I miss this.
Yeah, I hope I don't stop. I mean, I'm more than halfway through college. Hopefully it keeps going. I don't see any, knock on wood, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't foresee anything really changing that. But you
going for a bachelor's or?
Yeah, I'm going for I have about 2 semesters left on my bachelor's degree, and then after that, I'm gonna probably go to graduate school. Hopefully.
Oh, cool.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I actually never graduated college. I quit. I had 2 credits left, or I had 1 class I had left to do, but I had to take 2 classes to get there, and that was math.
Yeah. I gotcha, and each one would probably have to be in its own semester.
Yeah, it was. I had to do. I passed 96. My ex-fiance, she was at my house like I took a 6-week course. She was at my house every single night, helped me with my homework for like 6 weeks straight, and then that was Math 96, and I tried to do Math 98 the following semester, and I failed out of it like midway through the semester. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to do this, and then that's when I actually started my business, and I had pretty much had like 2 full. I had majoring in multimedia design and then a full minor in traditional art. And by the time like I left, I was already at 112 credits.
Yeah, that's a weird spot.
But I got into business, and it was fun, really engaging, and it was cool just making stuff for people and getting paid to make stuff for people that they liked. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do this, and spent the last 18 years of my life learning about business and getting good with that. And the college degree thing has never been a hindrance, or the lack of college degree thing has never been a hindrance. So, but yeah, that is actually really cool that you're doing that. What just short, quick answer. What are you going to grad school for? The same thing?
Biochemistry, probably.
Okay, so you're just gonna stay stuck in it.
Probably.
Oh, cool.
I'm looking forward to it, but also not looking forward to it.
Well, like you got the painting thing as like an outlet, kind of a relaxation outlet. And that may never go away in your life. But also at the same time, you might get married, you might have kids, and one of those kiddos will run around you the first 5 years of your life. You're going to be like, no, I quit.
We'll see. We'll play by ear, I guess.
So I kind of put you on pause for that paint thing. But what kind of paints do you use?
I want to say, so when I'm going for box art, I guess it's like mostly GW just because that's what the recipe calls for, and I've gotten this far in my like recipes, or I've painted so many models that changing a color would probably make it noticeable. If I didn't have to paint GW, if GW or if AK made like perfect 1-to-1 paints, I would use AK. I just love them so much. I recently bought a friend for Christmas. I bought him like 20 AK paints for Christmas. He wanted them too, but it's just, I think they're just very matte. They're very smooth. They just do everything. And the one thing I have changed is I've changed from lead belcher to AK natural steel. Never looked back.
AK took me a little while to get used to because of like how fast it dries. And Warheezy, my buddy up in Canada that was on the first episode, he was the one who kind of got me into AK. And as luck would have it, Las Vegas Open in January, AK was there. And my local shop that I go to, War Room, they struck up a deal with AK. Literally, they bought all the stock that AK brought with them, and it was a lot of stuff. So we had like one retailer for AK here in town, and like it was some little dinky shop that like no one had ever heard of. And it was like I don't know if it's the same business or not, but it was like right next door to a tinting place. It was in literally the same office. So I'm like, But yeah, my local bought up all the AK stuff that they had, or the AK had at the show, and so I was able to actually start using it. But I found there was a learning curve with it because of the way that I like to paint. I like to layer glaze a lot, and because their paints dry so fast, it took me a while to get used to the fact that like you got to keep tons of water in them, and you got to dilute the hell out of them. I think out of any paints I've used, AK has the most pigment in it, which is not a bad thing at all. It was finding that right happy medium to where to keep the paint watered down too. And then Warhees, he was like, oh yeah, he's like, I forgot to tell you, he's like, I rinse my brush out every couple of minutes whenever I use AK paints. I was like, yeah, I just started doing that, and it makes a huge difference.
I honestly, I don't know if I've noticed too much difference. I guess.
Well, you're in Florida.
I prefer them. Well, yeah, Florida. Yeah, we're always humid, but
I'm in the middle of a damn desert.
True. Whenever I paint, I don't necessarily like think like, oh, this needs way more water. This is drying out way too quickly. I don't. I guess just sort of subconsciously, I just sort of do what I need to do. I don't think there's any conscious like connection between that. At least when I'm painting.
Yeah.
So like someone asked me like, oh yeah, how'd you dilute that? How much water did you? I don't have any idea. I just put it on the palette and just mixed in a little bit of water and it's got it to what I want it to be.
Well, like the way that comparative to pro acryl, it tends to stay wetter longer, I guess. I don't know. It's just their paints are different formulas. Vallejo's is a different formula. Citadel's different formula. Too Thin Coats is a different formula. Like I run pretty Citadel, AK, Pro Acryl, Too Thin Coats, Vallejo, and I think that's all I use. So that's what 5 different brands, and they all have their own quirks and different ways of working with them.
I've been wanting to try out Pro Acryl and Too Thin Coats. I've heard Too Thin Coats is kind of what I think that might be like the perfect like color match, but also like better paint than GW.
I found that Games Workshop paints tend to like, I don't like their acrylic medium. I think it's really weird and gelish, and they seem to like comparative to like Pro Acryl. I mean, comparative to pretty much any other paint line out there, they seem to be lacking pigment in their paints really heavily.
Interesting. I don't necessarily know if it's like, I don't know. There's like, when it comes to the range, I feel like there's some paints that are just like god awful, and there's some that are like perfect. I don't know. I think their range just varies a lot, I guess, with quality. I think they could maybe shore up some weak points and maybe improve their range a little bit. Yeah, a little more in that regard.
Well, like this formula, I grew up with 80s, 90s, and 2000s paints. So like the 80s and 90s paints were pretty much identical in formulation. Coat d'Arms and Nostalgia, they used the traditional formula that GW was using in the 80s and 90s. And then in the 2000s, Games Workshop switched to a formula where they were trying to get everything to dry matte. And that formulation was the best formulation, I think, in my little world, was the best formulation they ever came up with. And then I took a break for 12 years, came back to their current formulation, and it's nothing like they had. I still like their inks, or their washes a lot, like the contrast and shades, and I still really love their metallics. But as you mentioned, like their normal colors, like their layer colors, can be just total hit and miss.
Yeah, I don't know. They also did some weird reformulations, like pretty recently. I mean, they did like the new contrast, new shade paint. That was all very well known. I think I liked the old. I mean, this isn't like a very out there opinion, but I think the old shade paints, I think I preferred a little more. Like I think the new shade paints are just contrast, but maybe a little dialed down. You can definitely tell the mediums are very similar.
Well, I have Badab Black, the first shade they ever brought out. And it may be a little bit heavier in pigment, but it was still the same shit. I remember when they came out with that stuff, it was like they were replacing their inks with shade paints. They didn't tell anybody. It still said wash on the bottle. And I tried using the black ink to like panel line something, or the Badab Black to panel line something with, and I was like, what did they do? This is not the same stuff. And they finally updated it to be a shade paint, and then they started bringing out the contrast paints, I guess, shortly after.
like even for some reason, like I think I have corn red here, and I don't remember it like being this color. Like maybe 2 years ago, I think they did something weird. They just like changed stuff in the background unnecessarily.
Well, they do they do fluctuate in batches. They will fluctuate a little bit sometimes. Like there's a big in the OldHammer world. There's a big debate over which Goblin Green's the right one, and they made them in huge batches. So like one batch might be half a shade off from the previous batch. It's still it's still supposed to be the same color formulation, but it might just be slightly off. But Games Workshop has been known to screw around with this formulation in this current formula of paints. Stolly did a whole video about it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm glad I didn't paint my entire army red. At least the greens sort of all kind of mesh together. It's not a big deal. No.
Well, obviously you've got a really good eye for color then.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, part of it, I guess, is just like, it just looks different to me. Maybe this is just a particularly egregious batch that I just happened to come across.
Yeah. Well, I do know like Vallejo changed their formulation. Like the first bottle of Vallejo Black that I bought, Model Color Black, last year, the replacement bottle that I bought, it was a different formula. It the original formula dried satin. This new formula, it's not the clear bottle yet. It's still the old ones, but it dries matte.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Huh. Yeah, I heard some people were complaining about new black and I think maybe new white. I don't know if it was a new white formulation or not, but yeah. I do have a question for you. What do you think about the Citadel versus like the sort of dropper bottle?
I was a big fan of the original 80s and 90s paint pots. Mm-hmm. And it's what I grew up with, and I'm still a fan of them. But it's because if you kept the lid cleaned out, they were airtight. They lasted forever. There's guys out there who dig their paints out from like 20 years, and those old pop top bottles from the 80s and 90s, they open them up, they might have thickened up a little bit, pour some water in there, they're still good. Whereas the current paint pots, they suck. They're bad. And Games Workshop knows it. They do it on purpose. It's called planned obsolescence.
There's always sort of a downside. I find with these Vallejo ones, the top here, like the little like tiny piece here, will like pop off and it'll just crack.
I've experienced that with a couple of them.
But that really annoys me and really pisses me off because it's like ruined some of my paints. It'll even crack around like the fatter part of the rim.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And then with AK, like at least for me, I mean, I probably don't clean them as well, but I like this happens.
Wow.
That might just be because I don't give it like a little wipe when I close the cap, but that annoys me as well.
Well, I switched all my Citadel stuff over to dropper bottles. I got tired of the lids getting gummed up, and like their solution is just take the ring off, pull the ring, take the lid off, flip it inside out, clean it out, put it back on. It's like, dude, you have any idea how annoying that is to do? And like,
it is annoying. It's satisfying, but it's annoying.
Yeah, and like if you're not careful when you pop that lid inside out, that it doesn't pop and flick paint everywhere. Yeah,
you should do it before you shake the color to remix it.
Yeah,
I found that out because if you shake it, you just get paint everywhere.
Yeah,
and it just makes a mess.
No, they know like there's a podcast that I used to watch. The guy named Peachy was on. It's a bunch of British guys, and they had one of GW's GMs he was there for like 10 or 15 years, especially during the planning of like the new paint pot process. Games Workshop knows about the problems, and they have no interest in fixing it because one, like I said, it's planned obsolescence. They sell more paints that way, and two, their paint bottles, the biggest thing they wanted to do was they wanted their paint bottles specifically designed for them. Like they're not using any outside paint bottles. Their paint bottles are their own. They actually have a patent on the bottle. So nobody else can use that bottle because they want, like when you walk in somewhere, you know exactly what paints people are using because they're a specific size, they're a specific shape, they're a specific label. And they're stuck on that. Whereas like
it's the identity.
What's that?
It's just like the brand, I guess.
Yeah.
You just know.
And they're trying to bring like literally everything they do. They're trying to bring like in-house completely. Like they actually just built a new facility over in the UK for manufacturing. So honestly, like they're using an off-site paint manufacturer to manufacture their paints.
Yeah.
And I think they're actually going to buy all the machinery and bring it in-house, including injection molding for the paint pots themselves.
think honestly, I do prefer that. Honestly, I respect a company that will manufacture and do everything in house. It's just even if I have to pay a little bit more, I think it's honestly just it's healthy. I think for a manufacturer to do that.
It is and it isn't in certain ways. Like I think business wise with Games Workshop, like I started in the early 90s. I was like 10 or 11 years old, and just watching in modern times their justification for what they charge for their products, it's a little over the top.
I agree. Yeah, no, not to say like their prices aren't egregious. They're crazy. They keep raising the prices.
Yeah.
I agree. It's ridiculous. I mean, yeah, no one can argue that.
Like I'm as we were talking before the show with my brand, like I'm in plastics manufacturing, and high pressure injection molds, they're expensive to produce the molds. Like hypothetically, I think like one mold for they're not going to put just one miniature in there. Well, actually no, they have they're doing smaller. So like one sprue of Marines, like when you buy a box of Primaris Marines, like they usually include I think like 4 or 5 sprues, two, like there's
it's like
two sprues that are the same. Yeah. So like a mold like that is going to run about $10,000-$15,000, maybe 20-ish grand. But from what I was listening to in that podcast, their target profit margin is like 75 to 80%.
Yeah,
so
it's like it can't be that expensive to buy that much plastic.
Yeah, well, I mean, to produce the actual sprue itself, it's pennies on the dollar. It's cheap as hell. Yeah. Like it's probably 3 to 5 cents worth of plastic at most, and it's just polystyrene.
Yeah.
But growing up with Games Workshop, I mean, don't get me wrong, the models now are of much higher quality, but technology has advanced to where they can produce the type of models that they have now. Like plastics in the 80s and 90s, dude, they were bad. Most of them were pretty bad. But no, you bought a box of like RTB01 Sneaky Beakies. There was 30 miniatures in a box for $25. And I get that $25 like in 1994 is like 50 or 60 bucks now, but you pay $80 for a box of 10 now.
Yeah, it's
you're paying $40 for a character miniature, and Games Workshop tries to justify that by saying, "Oh well, it's a high-ranking troop. It's it's really special." Blah 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 blah. It's like, nah, you can just charge for that and get it.
Yeah, I don't get it, man. I mean, I get it. They're trying to make money, but
Well, it's like for you. I mean, like for younger guys, it's got to be kind of difficult too. It's not a cheap hobby.
No, not really. I have supplemented like getting a job and other stuff. I do commission a little bit, so I mean I can sort of fuel my hobby with my hobby, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely gotten worse. I remember when start collecting box, even me, like starting in 2021, start collecting box, $95. You get like honestly like 400 points or something.
Yeah.
Nowadays, these combat patrols are getting smaller and smaller, and they're just going up in price.
What is a combat patrol? I'm sorry, I don't know that.
It's
what
like
it is yet. It's like 8 models.
So they had start collectings, which were like sort of just a jump start to your army. So it'd be like, I don't know, maybe 400 points of models for like $95. And then they sort of
I'm sorry. It's like a small boxed army. There we go. I was thinking Killzone.
Box. Yeah, no, it's like small value box, but they like jumped the price up to I think 140 initially. It didn't really change the amount of models too much. I think they might have increased it a little bit. Combat Patrol is such like it's like it could be great, but as it is right now, it's not great. So they made really good combat patrols, really great value. Like Gene Stealer Colts had a really good value combat patrol, and then what they do is they take them away and they replace them with crappier combat patrols, with less models, with not even like models you'd want.
Yeah.
And they just increase the price. I think they're like 170 now, so they've gone up $30 in like 3 years, maybe 3-4 years.
Well, when I got back into this, I bought a set of Beakies for the 30K Beakies for, I think there's 20 of them. There was like $85.
Yeah.
And it was like all the same model. I had to buy and then you could buy the upgrade packs.
Exactly. Oh, dude. Is that for But nowadays, so Combat Patrol, I guess, is its kind of own game mode in 40K. It's like you're meant to take the box, build it, and then play it immediately with other people with their own Combat Patrols. But they sort of kind of didn't really implement it very well. So they were using stuff from like Combat Patrols from 9th edition, and trying to sort of mismatch the rules to like try and make them balanced. And it's not a very good game mode. Now, if they took Spearhead, what they did with Spearhead, I played a couple games of that. That's a great game. That's AOS's like sort of like beginner like miniature game mode.
Okay.
And what if they did? Then they like it's well thought out. They like actually put thought into it, I think. So if they did that for 40K with Combat Patrol, I think that Combat Patrol would be a great game mode to play. But as it is now, it's just sort of a mess. No one really plays it. None of it's balanced. And so the Imperial Guard Combat Patrol is a command squad, a unit of Castercan, and 2 units of horse, or yeah, I think 2 units of horses. Which, if you know anything about the game, is just nothing there meshes together. You got 5 Cadian infantry like leaders, 10 like elites, which you don't really play them together at all. They don't join each other, their units. And then 10 horses, which I guess they didn't sell them, so they're just gonna throw them in a box. It just doesn't make any sense to me, and it's $170, and it's just like, that's just crazy that people are gonna buy that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think if you liked all the models in there, it is value if you wanted to get everything in there. But you know, people don't do that. They see like value, and they're like, I'll buy it, and then they realize, I'm not going to paint these 10 horses. Well,
it might be like a good jumping off position. That GM guy on that podcast talked about, like Games Workshop's biggest market that they try to pull in is middle-aged women, like moms, because the moms are bringing their kids into the Games Workshop store, and the moms are buying the miniatures for their kids. So, you know, like kid sees Combat Patrol Space Wolves or Combat Patrol Ultramarines on the shelf, or even, you know, if they want to go Combat Patrol Imperial Guard, you know, like, oh wow, it's a whole well, I can get like a whole bunch of models for $180, you know, versus like the same amount in individual boxes, which is going to add up to like $250 or something like that. So yeah, I mean, it may be just kind of a good jumping off point for who Games Workshop is marketing to bring them in, and then as they get more knowledgeable, it's like, well, those models suck. I'm gonna go buy these.
I mean, yeah, they'll get like a month into it and be like, why do I care about these 10 horses? Like, what do I don't want to paint these. They're like, imagine they're like 20 points a model, like the same points as a Space Marine, but you're painting a guy and a horse, and they're just so much bigger, and it's just like. And they're so much more detailed. It's just, I have 10 Krieg Death Riders, so I got the launch box for Guard, and I have not touched them since I got it. It's just been, I just can't, I don't know. There's just something about horses that are just, it's just a lot of work for very little like payoff in the game.
Okay, so we were talking about what kind of paints you use, and then kind of went off on a whole tangent of just random stuff, which I normally do on this show, but out of all the paint brands you use, do you have any particular favorites?
I mean, like we said, AK is probably my favorite. I think, so for metallics, we can just like narrow this down. So metallics, AK, all the way. I love them. Citadel makes decent metallics. I think their coverage is okay. I think for what they are, they're decent. I did use Scale 75, which I'm not sure. Is Scale 75 like... Are they making stuff anymore?
I don't know. I've heard that name come up a few times, but I don't know.
They had this like, you're talking about Citadel, like their paints being like weird consistency. Scale 75 used a noticeably different medium. It was like a really jelly medium, and it just honestly to me it just sucked. It just wasn't didn't cover well. You couldn't like layer. I think it was really good for glazing, but that was about it. But they're metallics. They were very nice for the time I used them, and they're most of what my Black Templar metallic like bronzes are. It's like kind of a mix.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. One thing I think I do use, I don't know if I have it anywhere around here, but I use Speed Metal from Scale 75. It's like a very like bright silver.
Oh, okay.
That one's pretty decent.
Yeah, I tried out I was trying to make the switch over to like finding somebody else who did metallics that I liked, and I tried Pro Acryl at first, and their gold was terrible. I didn't like it, but some people like it, some people don't. I just couldn't work with it. But I switched over to Too Thin Coats for a little bit because they made a perfect mithril silver and they made a perfect chainmail. Those are old Citadel colors, and I really like the colors, but they didn't take water well and they dried up too fast.
Oh.
And they were really hard to work with, whereas like the Citadel metallics, I really like them because they still act like Citadel metallics from 25 years ago. It's the new the new acrylic medium, but they still act like they used to, where they like take water really well. You can get them really thinned out. Yeah, the coverage is a little different than what a lot of younger folks are used to, but I'm used to that. So it's just kind of nice having that. But obviously, you know, with like with AK metallics for you, like why do they work so well?
I don't know. I think maybe it's just sort of I don't know, honestly. I think when I look at them side by side, the AK ones are like, I think the microflakes are a little finer. They just go on, they just cover better. It's just sort of just a bump up in terms of just quality in all regards. I think. I mean, this is with all metallics where you notice like you can like they get like tacky, like kind of weird tackiness. Have you noticed that with like the vanilla ones? Yeah, I've noticed that with AK a little bit. That it kind of gets annoying. Like you have to wait a little longer to repaint over them and then to wash them and everything. But other than that, I think they're just generally just a step up in quality. And you know, the dropper bottles, they come in dropper bottles. I love them. And the AK ones, they don't split because they have like the weird like little like grooves and everything. Like best bottle design, I think, out of all of them by far. Yeah, I kind of dig AK's lids. Have you figured out where to put the color dots yet on them? I don't do that, to be honest.
Oh, really?
I don't. I guess I don't really care too much. Like if I'm looking for a blue, I'll just grab like I have like one AK blue. I actually don't have that many AK paints. Surprisingly, I have like the ones I need, and I don't have any more. Which I don't know. That's just how I paint because, you know, again, box art, you're using like GW colors. I kind of only use them for like the very extraneous stuff.
Oh, that recessed circle on the top of the AK paints. Yeah, that's usually where I put I'll just take the bottom, go squeeze them in there, and put it back on.
No, I've seen that. I guess. Yeah, I just never really needed it exactly. I don't know. Never thought about it too much.
How many paints do you have?
Oh, I don't know. It's a lot.
Okay.
I doubt it's as many as like a lot of other people have. Like, but I mean, do you want to see my desk? It's like, oh, look at that. That's like the ones I like am using like every day. And yeah, there's like a real good one I'm working on. But like my desk is a mess. But like the ones I use every day like stay up there. That's probably about as many as I use. I probably have like maybe 3 times that amount sitting under my desk right now in a box. But I don't know. It's very limited right now.
I think I've got.
If I was doing a bunch of different projects where it was like I'm painting like a Black Templar, and then I'm painting like a Farsight, and then I'm painting a Guardsman, I think I'd have more paint up there. But it kind of varies. Right now, I've been sort of in the guard stint. Yeah.
I've got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 17, 19, 21, 23, 25, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 35, 38, 41, 44, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 59, 61, 63, 65, 66. 67. That's like that's all the colors I have.
Yeah. How many do you use those frequently? Every one?
No. Actually, I had like a ton of pro acryl. I'm getting rid of it. I usually donate my paints to like my best friend or my gal. That like I just experimenting around, trying different colors, seeing what works for me, seeing what doesn't work. And it's not that like the particular pro acryls were bad colors or bad paints. I just found something that works better for the way that I paint. So I just offloaded. I think I've got like 35 paints in a box for my painting bestie. I'm like, here, take these, use them.
Yeah.
But
I've started to. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, like I keep black and white separate. Like I was using. I was big on Vallejo model color black, but after using AK black, I'm like, I like this color a lot. So I switched over to AK black. I've got Vallejo white. I've also got Pro Acryl titanium white. I use those for 2 different applications. But like, you know, your primary colors that you use with a lot of your models, like your reds or your blues or your greens or your yellows, you know, I kind of just have those at the forefront. I use those on a normal basis. But, you know, like random color, like an off brown or, you know, a random off white or an orange or something like that, you know, you're going to use less of those. I think that you've probably found.
Yeah, for some of those like minor colors, I'll actually just mix them. Like if it's for like a random piece of like clothing, I'll just mix it. It's only when I'm painting on like 90 miniatures that I'll actually buy just an actual just color that is what I want. And even then, have you seen some of the heavy metal paint recipes? It's like like the Cadian armor is like a 3 to 2 to 1 ratio of 3 different paints.
Ew.
Just for the base coat. It's like it looks good, but I don't know who was tinkering with dark magic trying to figure those out.
Well, just a little secret that heavy metal painters, they don't
actually
they don't exclusively use Citadel paints. They use paints from all different brands.
No, I mean they'd be torturing themselves if they did.
Yeah.
Have you seen
impressively enough, like Citadel's color range now is actually really big compared to like what it was in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. It's huge now. Like the range of color, the sheer range of what they have, it's big. Have you know the website Heavy Archive? No.
It Infernal Brush, like one of the heavy metal painters. He and a bunch of other heavy metal painters have sort of like accumulated a bunch of paint recipes and put it on this website. I can send it to you at some point, but it's just like not every recipe they use, but it's like a lot of the main recipes they use for like most of their box art. I found it very helpful and very cool to look at.
I like finding colors that work for. Like with my Blood Angels, like I primarily use the way I paint them now is Pro Acryl, Pyro Red, Pro Acryl, Orange Red, and then Pro Acryl Orange. And then when I'm doing competition level stuff with it, like I mix AK Ice Yellow into it to bring that orange all the way up to a pure ice yellow highlight. And
gotcha.
I try to keep like what I use for each chapter. I'll figure out what colors I like to use and just stick with those colors instead of having to go find or that paint ratio thing where you have to mix like 3 colors together to get one color. It's like that's why it's great having such a variety now from all the different paint brands. Like you got Vallejo Model Color, Vallejo Game Color, you've got Pro Acryl, AK, Games Workshop, Too Thin Coats. P3, you just have so many varieties out there that like, okay, Games Workshop says to mix this, and this to get this color. You got to use 3 different, 2 to 3, 1 ratio, where you could probably actually go find that color under Vallejo's Model Color line and just have a whole bottle of it right there on your desk. And you're like, okay, I'm not mixing that crap anymore.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm a stickler for the box art. So yeah, that's just my personal preference. But I think, I don't know. I don't necessarily like. So when it comes to Vallejo paints, I'm not like a huge fan of them for Warhammer, at least. I don't know. I think they're great for scale modeling though. They have like every like individual color for like a German aircraft's underbelly gray from like 1942 to 1943, and like it's that specific of a color. But I don't know.
Well, model color is meant to be more like realistic colors, and then game color is meant to be more for what we do.
Yeah, I don't know, I've just been I'm kind of sucked into AK now. I feel like once I've tasted that, I can't go back.
Well, I really dig their colors. Like their color range is really good. They produce a lot of like really bright and vibrant colors. For like the biggest thing for me was I had to throw out. Well, I've got some of them still just for comparison, but I had to throw out all my old paints because like the room that's behind me, that's my storage room. Where my paint sat in my storage room, the sun always hit that wall, so it dried all my old paints out. And I've just been kind of on this quest to find exact colors for the stuff that I grew up with and got used to using. And between all the different color brands, Pro Acryl, Vallejo, AK, Games Workshop, and I'm forgetting the last one, whatever it is, Too Thin Coats. There we go. I've actually managed to find all the colors that I'm used to, and like Too Thin Coats makes a perfect goblin green. AK makes a perfect goblin green. Vallejo makes a perfect goblin green, but it's 3 different formulations, so it's like finding the right formulation of my favorite color.
Yeah.
But that box art thing you're talking about, I know exactly what you're talking about because War Painter, that was the 5th one. War Painter makes a perfect 80s and 90s Citadel blue-gray, and they make a perfect 80s and 90s and 2000s Space Wolves gray. And I actually pulled my old pots that were dried out and compared the paints, and they're an exact match. So I know that you want that box art look, you want that box art color. You kind of got to dig, or you got to mix your own.
Yeah. I think it is a blessing and a curse, the amount of access we have to various like just colors. It's nice to have that access, but also I feel like at least a lot of new painters at least will be like, I don't know, they'll buy too much, I guess. They'll like buy 8 million different colors, various shades of green that they probably are never going to use ever again. So I think there is it's a double-edged sword. I know this isn't a hot take.
It's not necessarily a bad thing, but like if you look at the triad system, it can get kind of technical where like some of them are you only use 3 colors, some of them use 6 colors. Mm-hmm. And if you're experimenting around, you bounce around from like you start painting ultramarines because that's usually the gateway chapter to you go to blood angels, and then all of a sudden you discover like kind of like you did. You said the word bearers. They use different reds than blood angels do, and then you get into like Imperial Guard. So there goes, you got to buy a whole lot of ivories, you got to buy a whole lot of greens, you got to buy a whole lot of like weird ass colors. So you end up, if you follow that triad system, you just wind up with so many different colors, and some of them cross over, and most of them don't. Yeah,
I guess it's also probably marketing, isn't it? It's
And again, the paint pots will dry out, so you haven't touched the paint in 6 months, and all of a sudden you go to use it, and it's like, great, I can't use this anymore. I got to go buy another one. There's $8 down the chute.
Out of all the paints below me, I'm like, I don't have any idea how many of those actually work. All of my roommates getting into painting, and I've been giving them some of my old stuff that I don't touch at all. Mm-hmm. And we'll open it up, and I'm like, oh, that's gum in there. I don't know what's going on. Maybe, sorry, I can't give this to you, or you can take it, but
good luck with it.
Yeah.
So kind of going on to another question, with how you paint, is there anybody out there who's influenced your painting style?
I mean, straight away, Infernal Brush, heavy metal style, definitely influenced my painting style a lot. I watch like Miniac, Ninjon, I watch a lot of various YouTubers. I don't know if I sort of watch them as, they don't inspire my painting exactly. I mean, they do I do like what they do, and I do get ideas from them, but I don't think a lot of people inspire exactly what I'm going to do. I would say it's more, I see them and I see what they're doing, and I'm like, that's cool, and maybe I'll get like color choices, color theory, but I don't think the bulk of my painting is very much inspired. Mm-hmm. I guess that's the best answer I can give you, at least none that I can consciously say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's like no, you don't really kind of go digging around on Instagram and stuff for inspiration?
I mean, I do, every now and then I'll be like, oh, that's a cool idea for this guy, is he painted his helmet white, and I kind of want to do that. Or I'll ask I'll poke around, I'll be like, hey man, I love your model here, what was your recipe for this? And they'll be like, oh yeah, here it is. I'll be, that's cool, and I'll use it. So actually some of my the paint recipes on some of my Krieg, and some of my I guess mainly the Krieg, the cloaks I got it from another Instagram, I forget his name, but I got it from another guy who did it on his Cadians. I'm like, I really like that green color, what'd you do? And he gave me the recipe. And then same with the leather, I asked another miniature painter guy what he did for his leather, and I'm like, I really like that, I'll use that on mine. And I mean, so there is some bits and pieces there. As far as style goes, I think it's mainly heavy metal. I don't know, I just like it. It's clean, it kind of just shows off your brush control, the colors are all vibrant, it just kind of look good.
So I had a question I was thinking of. What was it? With you being kind of only 4 or 5 years into this kind of thing. Actually, let me pull this up so I know where to make an edit or a chapter. With you only being 4 or 5 years into this, I mean, you've gotten insanely good, but you're into the gaming side too, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay, so have you noticed a difference in the gaming side versus the painting side, in terms of people and how they interact with one another?
I mean, yeah, there's definitely a difference. So at least back home, the gaming side tend to be a lot more they're very chill. They're yeah, just threw some color on it, got it game ready, and they're honestly pretty good at painting. And I'm like, yeah, you're doing really good. You're very, it's very great. It's kind of a hard question. It's kind of a hard question to answer. So in terms of painting, I don't know. It's a hard question to answer.
Okay.
repeat the question, I guess.
I kind of just made it up on the fly. The reason why I was asking the question is I was just curious from a much younger guy's point of view. Like I'll post on Reddit or I'll comment on Reddit posts, and we all know Reddit's a dumpster fire anyway. Yeah, but I'll comment on Reddit posts, or I'll make my own. And it seems like the attitude of some of the younger folks who are more enthralled with the gaming side of things, they tend to have a much different attitude versus like the people who are really in it for the painting side, where I have found that like there's a lot of coming from the car scene. I have a very thick skin, being involved with cars for 22 years. But I have found that like it seems like the gaming side tends to run its mouth a little bit more, a lot more. Just basically say like really negative stuff on posts and whatnot. Most of the groups that I'm in on Facebook, they're strictly they're geared toward painting and like more toward my era of being involved in painting, like OldHammer stuff. But I have found that the painting side, or the painters, they tend to be a lot more open. You can DM them out of nowhere and they tend to talk to you more. They seem a lot more welcoming and uplifting. And I'm not trying to like insult the gaming side, because I've met some actually really cool gamers. But have you found that like maybe the gaming side takes a different attitude in its conduct versus the painting side's attitude and conduct?
I mean, there's definitely a different attitude towards painting. I'm not so sure I've really met any like negatives.
And it's not necessarily like painting; it's just the hobby in general.
Yeah, I got you. So okay. I don't think I'd see sort of. There's definitely. I mean, they're different. Their end goal's different. Yeah. They're doing it for different reasons. So of course there's gonna be a difference. But maybe you just found some stinkers, because I don't know. I've my like community that I've been parts of has been just nothing but positive. There might have been like maybe one guy just randomly who's like was very critical. Yeah. But I think honestly, surprisingly, he was like more of a painting oriented guy. Yeah. So I don't know. I think it can vary a lot. Just like in a small group, of course, everyone's going to be supportive, or else you're not going to be with them. Whereas like you said on Reddit, I think Reddit is there's the wall between you and the person, and they have no repercussions for just going in on you. So I think you might have just found some stinkers, to be honest. I don't think I've really had much of like one side's bad, the other side's nice, to at least in my experience. Yeah, I was very curious, because you're 22 years younger than I am, and I haven't really had anybody on the show that's below the age of like, I want to say like early to mid 30s. So it's just you're of the Newhammer generation. So I was just very curious about your perspective and your input on it. It's been very welcoming. I guess the war gamers are very much oriented towards getting their stuff painted, looking for hacks, tricks, to get further with their army. One thing that grinds my gears, slap chop. I hate slap chop so much. I know it might be a hot take, but I think it's nothing different than just putting a zenithal and contrast over it. I don't know. It's just, I don't know why it's such a like people are discovering it as something so great. That's just my opinion. I don't know. I think it's a good way for people starting out to be able to paint their models and to maybe make a good foundation of like where do I start? Okay, this looks simple-ish enough. Like all I got to do is just kind of dry brush it or spray paint it from the top, and then just add contrast paints to it or speed paints. And it's like, okay, well, my models still don't look like the box art. How do I get there? Maybe if I start adding in some layer colors and just build upon that. I mean, we didn't have any of that when we were young, dude. We had what was in White Dwarf and the painting guides, and we didn't have YouTube. We didn't have videos for this stuff. Like finding somebody in your community who painted well, that was rare. Yeah. So I guess sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead, dude. I guess my main irk with it is I don't think it's that much different than what we already had before. It's just kind of a weird thing that people got hooked onto that I don't think is because contrast paint was always meant to be going over a white base coat or something like that. So I don't know. I don't think it. I don't know. It's just a pet peeve. It's not like nothing's wrong with it. You can do it if you want to. It's not like the results do look good in the end, but I don't know. It's just something that just sits in the back of my mind. It really grinds my gears. Yeah, basically, for no real reason at all, other than I don't know. It just seems like a fad that wasn't different than what we already had.
So I think I started getting back into Warhammer stuff, like watching videos about lore and like starting to like watch painters and stuff like that. I started getting back into that, and I think I want to say like late 22, if not 23, and I think that's right about the time that Slapchop started getting big. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I got no idea, but
I don't really remember. I saw the original video like when it just came out. I don't remember when that was. It was 2 years, year and a half ago, 2 years.
Yeah, and like seeing certain painting methods being done, and I'm not knocking anybody's painting method. Like if most people know that like I'm one of the most open people to talk to about this, but just seeing certain painting methods being done and promoted, like I was like, what is going on? Like what? You know, wait, you put your model completely together when you paint it? What is that?
Yeah, there's like it's like every other like month there's a new painting, like revolutionary painting method. People are just I feel like there is a sort of this like someone makes a method, it gets like kind of
popular,
thrown to the side, and then people just keep rediscovering the same thing over and over again.
Well, like in my painting tutorial videos, I've only done one so far. I'm working on the second one right now, but like I flat out said in the intro, like this is not a tutorial to get your model painted in 20 minutes and on the table kind of thing. Like if you want something like that, there's plenty of them on YouTube. This is just not one of them. This is a tutorial for like if you want to paint something to display on your shelf and like actually grow your skills. And it's like, and I've got mad respect for what you do with your modern hammering style painting. I've tried doing that, and it's just frustrating because I'm so big into the Grim Bright thing, where it's gradients and big bright bold colors, and it's just a different painting method. But when I was talking to Snakeworks Studios, Marcel and I were kind of going back and forth about like old hammer versus new hammer style of painting. But the neat thing is you can take. You may not like the way the person's painting, but if you study their methods and study what they're doing, you might actually be able to take something from that and incorporate it into your own workflow. Yeah. And there's, I think a lot of people, especially younger folks now, because of just the way you guys have grown up with cell phones, constant information, constant, Facebook and it's social media kind of thing where the brain wants instant gratification. Yeah, I'm old. I still use Facebook. But no, like there's the whole ladder process of learning a new skill. And, you start at one thing and you're having trouble figuring it out, and somebody gives you a friendly word of advice or input. Or you see another painter that you really want to emulate their style, and you try it 15, 20, 30 times, and finally maybe on the 40th time you're able to achieve something that's really close to it. But that 30 to 20 to 35 times, you're going to take like this whole avenue where you're going to like zigzag and wibble wobble and all this stuff, and you're going to learn a bunch of cool new stuff that it may not have anything to do with achieving that particular style, but you've just learned a whole bunch of cool new stuff, and you may actually wind up utilizing a bunch of that stuff further down the line once you discover somebody else's style that you really want to try and emulate, and you're like, oh wow, like 4 or 5 of those steps I just went through, I can apply it to that. Oh crap.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of like getting to a certain point, a lot of the fundamentals are just like universal. It just helps you out. Just painting. Just do it. You'll get better. Yeah. Well, that's like anybody who asks me, like, dude, how do you do that? Like, I'm like, here's a tutorial. Well, I mean, that's still hard. Practice. That's how anybody gets good at anything. I mean, the NBA guy who makes a 3-pointer on his first try from the 3-point line, it's because he's made that shot 15,000, 30,000 times. He didn't just all of a sudden wake up one day and go and just repeat it over and over. And I'm using sports. I hate sports. That's fine. What people do? Well, people see these Instagram posts and they're like, "Oh, this is like I'll never reach this." But people don't understand that like ever since 2021, I think I've probably painted at least 4 or 5 hours a day, like just the entire time, like every day. Yeah. Just I mean, of course, there's weeks I take off for like travel or vacation, but like 4 to 5 hours every day, and I've been very lucky that I've been able to do that. I know some people don't have the time, but it's just put in the reps. You get results. Well, and there's one thing that a lot of people don't realize too is like even
those of us who are higher up the painting ladder in what we do, like I've been painting on and off for 30 years and I still learn new things and I love it. But, you know, even our miniatures, we look at them when they're complete. Somebody may see it as like God tier painting, but we look at it and we just see all the things wrong with it. Like, oh man, I should have used that color. I kind of, the highlight's too thick. You know, you're your own worst critic. Whereas like, hypothetically for you, all 7,500 followers that you have, like a good chunk of them might see it as like, I mean, dude, that's like heavy metal. Perfect.
Yeah, no, you can get very self-conscious posting stuff like that. Yeah, it is very much. You see, the grass is always greener. Whatever, like other people's stuff is always gonna be like, that is crazy. Yeah, it's always gonna be other people's stuff is like you're gonna see it as like flawless, even if you know they see it as not that. I don't know. Sometimes I get very self-conscious when I post a model. I'm like, this is just not up to my normal tier, and then I'll get comments being like, yeah, this looks great. And I'm like, oh, thank you.
Well, like last year when I entered Olden Demon, the Terminator down on the right-hand side of the screen, like at the time, that was the best I could do. And I showed it to my the guys who run the shop or who own the shop at my local, and one of them's like, dude, I mean, this is phenomenal. Like, just imagine how far you're going to be next year. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to get better than this. Well, it's a year later now. And like, yeah, I see all the flaws and like how I've gotten better. Cause well, like, I mean, he's sitting like 2, 3, 4, 5 feet away from me. I look at him like, you know, whenever I look at my model case, but I'll pick him up and look at him every so often where you see him on the screen. And now it's like comparing him to my Grimnar, or comparing him to my Ulrich Slayer. Yeah, I'm like, okay, yeah, holy crap, I did grow.
Yeah, okay, I have one thing to say, I guess.
What's that?
So, if someone's looking to grow their skills, or even just get better at painting, faster at painting, I think take one model and paint it to the best of your abilities. Like, go all out on it. Take as much time as you need, finish it, and by the time you're finished with that model, every other model you do after it, all the processes you're going to do it faster, you're going to do it better. Every other model after is just going to be a step up, even if you don't put as much effort into it. I like every now and then, like maybe every like 6 months, just do a model to the best of your abilities, and it'll just be like a jump in skill, I think.
Like that's I've gotten into there's 3 painting competitions I do a year religiously now. That I mean, this is my second year back into it all, but like Olden Demon, Las Vegas Open, and Darren Latham's painting challenge, whatever he does. And I'll go balls to the wall, like the best I can do for all 3 of those. And I noticed like with what I did for Olden Demon this year really beat out what I did last year. There was a few things I did on that Space Wolf that the first one I liked a little bit better, but even with what I did between my Orc and my Grimnar, like I learned new stuff. And
do you
go ahead.
Do you notice that you're like, even if you're not your competition models, you're like for fun models after that, do they seem to be just a standard up, even if you're not putting as much effort? Well,
like so my big thing is like paying attention to behaviors of paint and paying attention to like how I can better go through a process. Like I might be able to like incorporate a new step that eliminates 2 steps that I was taking before because this step is more efficient and it looks better, and I can build new steps upon that. So in my mind, it's just all like I'm very, with being autistic and the way my mind works is I'm very organized with how I do things. But also I think that might come with age, especially with efficiency. And like, if you're really big, like with my brand that I run, I'm really big on product quality. So I try to learn every damn step that I do and make mental notes of like, okay, here's the initial, like Blood Angels. Here's the initial way I was doing them when like my old Rogue Trader Terminators, and then I switched over to Pro Acryl paints because they worked better for the way I work. And now I've got like my whole list of how I go through Blood Angels in my head. And doing a painting tutorial, that will really kick your ass into gear.
Oh,
because like
go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, you did a couple of them.
I did a couple of them. The amount of effort you have to put into it and like getting the camera oriented and everything else, it's just a lot of work. I just sort of, I'll do it every now and then, but I'm not going to do that consistently.
Well, I mean, it really makes you think about the steps you take whenever you paint what you're painting.
and then I'm like, oh god, is this good? Did I even paint this one?
Yeah.
And that whole wave of self-consciousness gets on you. Like, am I teaching people how to do stuff horribly?
I was thinking of doing my Space Wolf tutorial. I'm like, wow, I was going back through my Blood Angels one, just like looking for how I need to film in what order for the chapters, the way I did my first one, because the first one was actually set up really well from start to finish. I really liked it, but I was like, wow, I'm doing things a lot better now, and it's only 4 months later.
Yeah.
Yeah, but those tutorial, like painting tutorials and making one will definitely up your skills, because like for me, it was having to go from display competition quality Space Wolf armor down to something that people could understand, but also in kind of re-engineering it. I'm like, wow, actually, you know what? I can, now that I have this like in a much more easily digestible process, I can see ways to improve and like make this version of it like work better than what I was doing before.
Yeah, like forces you to like break it down and really think about each individual step.
Yeah. I mean, and obviously you've noticed like when you go through and do your best thing, like it levels you up as well.
Yeah, I've been slacking. I have a couple unfinished projects, should we say. I have this. I don't know if you've seen this one, but it's the little flesh tear who has like not changed at all since when I posted that like 3 months ago. I've just been, I don't know. I've just been very, like I've my ADHD makes me jump around. So if I'm not like hyper fixated on it, I'll just get bored. And then maybe I'll eventually go back to that. I also know Space Marine.
Talking about getting bored, like I've actually found now that like outside of when I'm doing competition stuff, like having like 3 or 4 models on my desk in various stages of completion is actually kind of helpful, because if I get bored with one, I can just work on, I can work on something else on a different model and different color palette, different, it's kind of a shift of perspective.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, I think that works for some people. I don't know. When it comes to me, I kind of see them haunting me, kind of. Like, I have like 4 or 5 unfinished on my table right now, and they're just kind of staring at me like, I'll get to you after I paint this. And then I finish my project. I immediately move over to the new box I just bought. I'm like, I want to do this.
I wanted to roll into a couple of questions, but I wanted to ask, like, how familiar are you with like Middle Hammer and Old Hammer stuff?
I am not. I'm like, I probably as familiar as a person who got in 4 years ago could be. So that not very, I guess. I do have like some old metal chaplains that I got off at a swap meet that I have half painted, I guess. I painted one of them somewhat. But other than that, I mean, I'm not too familiar.
Okay, because like my next questions that I usually ask, because I usually talk to people who are more into, or like more around my age. I guess maybe like, I'll ask you anyway. What do you think of like old Games Workshop miniatures versus new ones?
I think they have their own charm. I think they have their sort of own style that I think can be appealing. I think there's some cool stuff that they could honestly like move into the current game. Like, and this isn't maybe not the greatest example, but have you seen like the old Gene Stealer Colts? Like was like a fat guy with a limo, I think. Oh,
you're talking about like the original ones from Rogue Trader.
Original, yeah.
Yeah,
like
I've got a ton of them.
Alien in a limo. I think they could do with some of that goofiness and move it forward a little bit. I think they could, honestly. I know it's like sort of a grimdark serious game, but also like there's superhumans riding wolves. It's kind of a weird line that people are drawing, but I don't know. I think it can be cool. I don't really have any interest as myself in painting them. I don't know. I sort of when I decide what to paint, I sort of decide if I can like, is it something I can game with a little bit? Because I do want to finish an army at some point. I don't really want to not necessarily waste time, but I would like it to have some more utility. But I don't know. There's some cool stuff. The chaplain I painted, I don't know, man. The metal, not fun to paint on.
Really?
I don't know. I used metal primer as well. It just the details weren't as crisp, and it's just the metal the paint started to flake off a little bit in some areas. Might have been user error, to be honest. But.
Yeah, with metal models, like I just prime mine with whatever Games Workshop's white primer is right now. And it still works the same. It's not. I mean, digging back through history, like I missed the hell out of raw Partha primer. That's what I grew up using, and that stuff was just. I was phenomenally good. It dried more matte, so it took paint easier. And then Games Workshop kind of had the same formula for their 2000s primer, and then the current primer. It dries almost like satinish, where like if you've ever noticed, like if you really thin your paint down, it just does not want to stick to the primer. It's like got like some kind of weird chemical in it.
That
it finally goes away after you coat it a couple times.
Yeah, that actually also I feel like varies a lot with humidity. If you're spraying it, it like can drastically change the
I've seen that, like that Space Wolf down in the bottom corner. I got that rough texture finish people were talking about.
No,
because I think I primed them on like it was when did I do that? It might have been hot out, or it might just been there. It might have been, I don't know. It might have been raining or something. But that's the only model that I ever got that like roughness to, and I just took some like some 1000 grit sandpaper and tried to get rid of most of it around the models I could. But with your skill level in painting, dude, I highly recommend you like go and buy like a Rogue Trader era or like a second edition era Space Marine or a Terminator and try painting one of those. See what you think.
Okay, I'll probably have to try that out at some point. I probably will. I have like. Yeah, the Metal Space Marines I have aren't probably that old in reality. They're like
they haven't made Metal Space Marines
like,
since like the 2000s.
Yeah, but like the sculpts aren't like they're not like Rogue Trader era is what I'm saying. They're like still semi-modern, I guess, is what I'm saying. But
from like third edition up until they really got rid of from third edition up until Primaris, those Space Marines were weird. I never really got into them too much. Like my jam is the second edition Space Marines and Rogue Trader stuff.
I mean, yeah, I guess that going back in, I'm pretty new, so I only had Primaris. Is like that was Space Marines to me. And I bought a box of Sternguard veterans as my first kit. I'm like, these guys don't look like these guys at all. What's the deal here? Because they were the old they're kind of short and squat ones. Great kit, a lot of parts, but like I sort of got bored of those because I'm like I kind of want to paint the new stuff. They look better. Yeah,
try it like if it's what's your chapter right now?
Whatever. Honestly, anything really.
Well, like go find like they in second edition toward the mid 90s, mid 90s, Games Workshop finally released the updated Terminator sculpts, like generic Terminators, so that like you could paint them Blood Angels, Ultramarines, go like I can go on eBay and find you some of those. I'd say like grab one of those, like just a generic Terminator and paint it up. That's when why can't I think of his name? That's when Jess Goodwin was still sculpting most of the Space Marine models, and Jess Goodwin was an amazing sculptor. But I think you'll find with those particular Terminators, you might find them a little boring to paint because they lack in detail. But if you go full ham, like challenge yourself, like a competition level model, I think you might have fun with it because it's really different. And they're actually, honestly, those Terminators from second edition are basically the same as what we have now. What we have now is just they're a little bit more detailed and bigger.
Yeah. Okay.
But that design scheme has stuck ever since the 90s.
Gotcha. Speaking of Horse Heresy, or it's not just like the old Hammer and stuff. What do you think about the new Horse Heresy, like Saturnine? I guess because that's kind of harkens back to a lot of the old stuff.
I've got two items of like two subjects on that. One, I love the fact that like they are now officially Saturnine Terminators. So those of us who've been calling them Saturnine Terminators for like 25 years, 30 years, all the neckbeards on Reddit who scream at the sky and say, "Well, actually, that's not Saturnine." Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's been Saturnine. Actually, you want to get really technical about it. It was called Exo Armor. It said it on the slot for the base. It said Exo Armor Term.
Where did Saturnine come from? Is that like sort of a fan name that was just given to it?
No. So Saturnine Armor was the reason why the Neckbeard Ashley crowd came out and started arguing against it was because Games Workshop never officially released any artwork for it. But for the longest time, Saturnine Armor was supposed to originate with the Salamanders. It was a giant hulking Terminator suit. And it didn't start, I didn't notice it being fully associated until I started really studying the lore of this stuff over the last couple of years. But supposedly, like, the Salamanders made the Saturnine armor, and then it worked well in battle, and then the design specs were released to the El Nutso guys on Mars, and they actually started they kind of re-engineered the suit to make it a little bit more mobile, but they started outfitting Terminators with it and it was called Saturnine armor. No, I'm sorry, the Salamander's version was Saturnine, and then it became Exo armor, but also Saturnine.
Yeah.
But Major Kill just did a whole video on it.
Okay. Yeah.
I highly suggest watching it because he actually makes fun of all the neckbeard actually people too.
Fair enough. He's pretty uncensored.
Oh, I love that guy. He's funnier than hell.
Yeah.
But no, they're from what I saw in the box art and the leak, they look cool. For me, they're a little too over detailed.
They look like weirdly proportioned. I'll be honest too. Like you like try to like envision a person like in that armor, and it's just like the arms, the shoulders, the hips are all like out there. Which I mean, it's not gonna break my immersion, but it just it looks a little like they took Terminators, which already look kind of a little oddly proportioned, and then they just went crazy with it.
Well, I thought it was kind of weird how like Games Workshop came up with the Cataphracti armor for the Heresy era, when in traditional lore, the Rogue Trader era, well, like the three prototypes, and then the Rogue Trader era Terminators were the definitive Terminators for Horus Heresy. Mm-hmm. And then they introduced Cataphracti. I don't know where that came from, but that's a new thing. And when I saw Cataphracti armor, I'm like, well, where's Saturnine at? Where's Rogue Trader armor at?
Where's the old stuff?
And they're finally getting around to doing the Saturnine stuff. So I'm curious if they're going to actually, like, one of my biggest things is I would love to see redesigned, well, just updated designs of the Rogue Trader Terminator armor. That was basically the basis of where Terminators now came from. If you saw Rogue Trader Terminator, be like, okay, yeah, it's a Terminator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I would love to see, like, they had their shoulder pads were like more angular and tipped. Their armor patterns, like some of the details on them are a little bit different. It'd be really cool to see those resculpted, like what they're doing with the Saturnine stuff. But the Saturnine armor was meant to be a giant hulking, very little mobility suit. Like you could take fire like crazy, but also dish it out. And yeah, I forgot I was going somewhere with that. Where was I going? I just completely lost my point because I rambled.
Oh. Well,
I think it's a little overly detailed, but some people were arguing that like it's all photoshopped and da 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 da. No, it's not photoshopped. If you get a good high res image of it,
pretty real
on the box. Like real. All those, they have multiple Saturnine Terminators, and they're all in different angles.
Yeah.
So it's like somebody's not going to take the time to Photoshop that. No, no, that's not AI generated either.
No, going back to what you were saying about like what I thought about OldHammer, I think that like them bringing stuff to like modern sculpts, I think is like honestly just the great ideas, because OldHammer had a lot of character, a lot of charm, a lot of like very like this was a time when they could like do anything. Like there was not like millions of people looking at them. They saw investors, everything. They didn't need to think about. Well, they did need to think about what would make money, but they weren't like as honed in on what they want their IP to be. Yeah. So I think, honestly, looking back, you can get a lot of ideas, a lot of inspiration. I think they should honestly look back and keep doing what they're doing, keep bringing back these old, sculpts into like modern fidelity. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, they don't have. They weren't back then. They really weren't the media giant they are now. Yeah. We had growing up in the 80s and 90s. I think they didn't start publishing books, I think, until the 90s, and those books are no longer considered canon. Are considered lore because they're just so weird and out there. I never read them, but yeah, like it was in the 80s. Well, at least for me here in Vegas, in the 90s, it was a very underground and niche thing. Finding somebody who played or painted was, unless you went to the hobby store, you forget it. Like no one in my high school knew what it was. And now, like I went to a magnet school, so my graduating class was only like 250 people, but I think we had like 1,000, 1,200 kids there, and no one knew what Warhammer was. Yeah. No one. And it's interesting now because my gal's kids, both of them know what Warhammer 40,000 is. I was like, hey, do you guys know what Warhammer 40,000 is? Oh yeah, Space Marines. Those things are cool. It's like,
yeah.
Well, times have changed.
Yeah. Oh, I can only hope the mainstream popularity keeps going up just so we get more like content.
Yeah.
I hope it doesn't take the Star Wars route where it
so much
gets a little overblown, but
I hope so much with the Henry Cavill series that it's like an actual series with characters that you can get invested in.
Yeah.
As opposed to
dude, that'll make or break it, I think, whether they keep doing it or not. if it's a nosedive, I don't think GW is gonna keep investing in like mainstream like shows. I hope to God it's good.
Like I got really into. I don't know if you've read the Horus Heresy series, but like I mean they only keep the first 3 books in production and then like the last 15 or 20, but the first 3 books you get you get like I got really invested in Gavio Loken. I love that guy. He was so cool.
Yeah.
And then you can't get the books anymore, but. Like I'll read, like I have a bunch of the Black Library books I've read through, and like very few of the characters like carry over to other books, which really sucks because it's like you get invested, you like this particular Space Marine, or you like this particular Orc War boss or something like that, and then they're gone.
Yeah, yeah. I think like maybe a third of the way through Fulgrim. I'm just listening to them on Audible. Whenever I'm like in a long car ride, they're decent, honestly. The quality of writing is pretty good, and maybe I'm just like looking through Roasted and Legends because I like the setting, but I think they're pretty. Yeah, no, I love the characters. They're all relatively complex.
Well, the funny thing is, like, so I'm sure that like when you read the books like about Space Marines and stuff, you picture them all as Primaris.
Not really, actually. I sort of have a good idea of what their like the time frame is, to be honest. I don't know.
For me, I picture everything.
I can make that distinction.
I picture everything as Mark 6 and Mark 7 in my head.
Yeah.
Because that's what I grew up with.
The cover of, I think, the first one. What was the first one called? The first book?
Of what series? Of the
first Horus Heresy book, like the first one.
I can go get it. Give me a second.
I don't know. Whatever. The cover on that.
Horus Rising?
Yeah, Horus Rising. Like that cover, yeah, that one right there. That is what all Space Marines look like in Horus Heresy to me. That's the only like thing I go off of. The like bunch of Luna Wolves all like they're in the middle of a fight, right?
No, they're just all standing around looking badass.
Just chilling.
Oh, there's a battle going on in the background.
That's my entire I envision. That's what I see whenever I see read about them.
So I can't tell what armor they're wearing because it looks like Beaky armor.
Well, Beaky armor is like late Heresy, if I'm recalling.
Well, they've got Mark 4, Mark 3 helmets on, but like the front, the dude right up front, he looks like he's wearing a cross between Mark 6 and Mark 7.
It could just be artists is just drawing what everything looks cool, to be honest.
Yeah, I think primarily they were like it was mostly like what Mark 3 and Mark 4, and then Mark 5 never really caught on. They just that was phased out really fast, and then they went to Mark 6.
Yeah, I don't have too much like knowledge on the armor marks. I'm not like too into 30K. Enough to like know the general idea though, the general like timeline.
Okay.
So, yeah. I don't know. It's cool. The 30K models are cool, but I just like 40K. You know, there's the game system, and I just want to paint those models. Yeah.
I'm just glad they brought they went full hand with Sneaky Beakies because Sneaky Beakies will always be best Marines.
Yep. All right.
Okay, so before we dive into your Instagram, I actually had one more question for you that I forgot about. What advice would you give painters just starting out to help them avoid the pitfalls that you've experienced?
I guess some of the pitfalls I've fallen into, I guess. I mean, everyone's bought too many models. Everyone's probably bought too many paints. Oh, one thing. So you watch a tutorial video. They tell you like, you know, go out to the craft store, buy like a pack of 30 brushes for like $10 and use those. I think there is value to having a bunch of random brushes that you can kind of use and throw away. Like I have a Citadel layer brush that I just use for like basing and just random crap, and it's the most disgusting brush you've ever seen in the world. But I think
some of those are handy.
Yeah, I think investing in the proper tools early, like getting a sable brush, even if you don't think you can take care of it, watch a video, figure out how to take care of it. But getting a Kolinsky sable brush early will really help you with brush control because you won't be fighting the synthetic tip the entire time. I think investing in like just good tools initially will help you like accelerate, get better, faster, and not necessarily like hit just like a wall because your equipment isn't up to snuff. It's like so when I was scale modeling, I had Kolinsky sable brushes just because I was using that on the other thing. So I kind of immediately jumped in with really nice brushes, really nice paint, and I think it was probably part of the reason I was able to increase my skill level so quickly. I wasn't fighting that. I also didn't have to relearn it when I felt like I was good enough to get like for instance, if I felt like I was good enough to get it, I wouldn't have to relearn using a stable brush. Yeah, I think there's value to that.
Is there any other potholes that you kind of hit that you have advice on?
I had thinking about it. Not really. I think. I mean, don't buy 50 models if you only like one of them. I mean, there's the real advice there. I think maybe buying, like, if you want to paint a model and you look at all the colors, don't buy every single color. Like, mixing and learning how to mix paint will just make you think about the model and will increase your skill level as well. There's that aspect to it. I don't know. There's like, don't fall for a bunch of like the pitfalls of like the little doodads, like little paint holders, little I don't know. There's just a bunch of gear on the market that are doesn't really do anything that you can't already do. Like, this is what I use with my paint handle. It's like an AK paint pot with a crap ton of blue tack on the top. And this is what I've been using for probably the last 4 years.
Well, I wanted to give you props that, like, I noticed in your tutorial videos you did what I do, is you actually wear a rubber glove to hold your model with.
Yep. Always got my little rubber glove.
And for people that don't know out there, like, so there's some of us that, like, we can't use paint handles. Like, I've tried, I don't like it because I can't paint the underside of the miniature the way I want to. Yeah. And I grew up just holding my models in my hands. And if you're one of those painters that holds models in your hands and you don't, like, you're hypothetically, you're just starting out and you're holding in your hands, wear a glove, because your finger oils will actually wear the paint off the model.
It'll just piss you off when you see your work is gone. Yeah, I do it. I'm like probably like on and off. I'll use a glove. It depends on what I'm doing. If it's like a very detailed part, I don't want to screw up. I'll up on the glove. Or if I'm like the tank, like it's like I'm not. There's a lot of detail on this thing. I'm not gonna just be.
Good luck getting that on a handle.
Just grabbing it. Yeah, use a handle. Gotta just go with the glove. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's most of it. I mean. It is, there's a hole in the bottom. You could find some way to jerry-rig something into the bottom. Oh,
they used to be solid, like in the old Land Raiders and Rhinos and stuff from my generation. Those things were solid on the bottom.
Thank God this thing. Well, I mean, at least it's not a giant piece of metal, but yeah.
True.
Something.
I don't really care. Some of those old GW metal kits, dude, they were so damn heavy. You put those things together and you throw it at somebody, it would just lay them out.
Yeah. I don't understand the whole deal with the Rogaldorn not having the bottom hole. I don't really care. You're not going to see it ever. But people like to get mad at stuff.
The what?
So the Rogaldorn, the bottom of it is just a hole. There's no.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize they had a tank named Rogaldorn now.
Oh yeah, it's just called the Rogaldorn now. Yeah. What's next? Who knows?
So they have the Lemon Russ and the Rogaldorn, and that.
Lehman Russ and the Rogaldorn, yep. And then, eventually maybe there'll be a Vulcan Histan. Or no, sorry, that's the Chapter Master, but I digress. They might have like a Conrad Kurz.
They make a Golem tank and they call it the Big Bobby G.
Who knows, honestly.
Okay, so
Johnson is probably like the next tank. Who knows?
With all that said, I wanted to dive into your Instagram for a little bit because, like, I keep praising how good your stuff looks compared to box art. So let's go to it. Let me pull up my interact window. There we go. Now
that Farsight, dude. I spent so long painting him, and then it just did not get the traction I thought it would get. Yeah, the Tau one. I spent so long painting that. That was a commission for a guy in Virginia that I know.
I like how samurai look. Like it's Japanese samurai themed, including the sakura trees.
I mean that's how it's. I mean the sakura tree actually is not box art, but
that was
my own little thing there. But everything else is pretty much on it. And I spent so long on that, all the freehand, like everything. And
it looks badass.
Yeah, no, I love how it turned out. It just like there's no decal on that, but it's just I mean Instagram. I mean I don't really care too much. It's not like I'm beholden to Instagram to like please them, but it just it flopped. I guess I just people don't like Tau as much.
Yeah. Well, when I did that Tau bust, I posted it on Instagram and didn't get a whole lot of love, but like I posted it on a couple of groups on Facebook and a couple on Reddit, and people were like, "Bro, that thing's badass. Where'd you get that? Oh God, that's like such a cool bust."
Space Marines, man, they're like they ruin everything.
I'm kind of starting to appreciate the towel. Like there was an episode where I actually acknowledged that the towel existed because they didn't come about until 3rd edition when I'd gotten out of the hobby for a while. And people hate to hear it, but like the whole reason the towel were invented was because at the time anime was getting huge worldwide, and Games Workshop is like, how do we cash in on this? Oh, we can make the towel and make that mecha and Gundam and anime.
I mean, that's pretty lore accurate, like not being known, because that is how they're like a tiny race, like minuscule, like probably smaller than some other unnamed races in the galaxy. So they're like, I mean, they just kind of popped up and are kind of just causing problems.
Well, at least when they popped up, like their stuff, like the models were actually pretty good. Like they're still.
No, I mean in lore they just
kind of on point to where they are today. Well, dude, if you look at the original Necron miniatures, God, were they bad. Oh
yeah,
they are terrible. Like especially compared to now, like Necrons now look amazing versus like if I'll have to dig it up for you and show you the first metal Necron model that they brought out. I remember seeing it in White Dwarf, and my best friend and I were like, "Dude, what is that?"
Yeah.
What?
Dude, they just did some stuff, back in the day. They just threw stuff at the wall, see what happened. I mean. I respect it. In the words of the 40-year-old virgin, how many pots did you smoke? Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. So hang on. So I mean, here's some of the guard we were talking about earlier. This is just one of the first ones, but I don't know how much time you dunked into this guy, but what I was saying is like I really like your use of browns and your greens. You've got that box art quality to it, but also like you've got the I don't know how you do it, like the softness of the texture of the cloth on it, and to me that looks great.
Yeah, I appreciate that. The Steel Legion Drab is a hell of a drug.
Okay, Rick James.
Paint, and honestly, I've been starting to use Lamian Medium a lot for some reason. I don't know why, but apparently it really helps with the subtle glazes of it. I don't know, it just has been kind of very helpful in what I've been doing.
Is that kind of what breaks colors down, like you're watering them down, or is that kind of what makes it more like contrasty? Like contrast paints.
It's not contrast medium. It's like I don't exactly know. It's a binder for some of one of their paints. I don't know exactly what. I think it's like thinner and less water. I think it might have been what they used for their shade paints.
Okay.
A while ago, before they got redone. Mm-hmm. It could be the binder for the regular paints as well. I don't know, but it just works very well to keep the paint not like breaking up.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. It's very 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 helpful. Yeah.
So that one, when I go down in your Instagram, unfortunately the software that I use, like when I click on a picture and then click off, it shoots back up to the top. So we have to kind of like, actually, I'll just come on. So we're hold on. You're talking about your Space Marines. Oh, there's your boy you were just showing us.
There's that guy that is not changed at all
since this will be on the cover because everybody loves Space Marines.
Yeah. No, exactly. That one.
Go ahead.
This is one of the times I went pretty all out on just refining just my technique and everything. Mm-hmm. I think it turned out very well. I'm particularly happy with the helmet. I think I nailed the vents pretty well. I'm honestly not sure if I could attempt this again. I could probably if I spent a lot more time. I just don't think I have the will right now, like the focus to spend as much time as I did on this.
Well, for folks watching, like how long did he take you to paint?
This was about a year and a half ago, so I don't have the exact numbers. Probably like three weeks maybe.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah, so
I mean, and I was painting pretty consistently every day, so
yeah. It
took a while. I was in the midst of that. I sort of decided I wanted to matte them down, so I used the AK Ultra Matte on it, and it like really like brought out the color.
Yeah.
Like if this is a repost, but if you scroll all the way down to some of the work in progress pictures, you might be able to find like the difference. This would be pretty far down. You got a
little painting guide there for him.
Little painting guide. Keep going. We're almost there. Almost there. There.
Oh, there it is.
I don't know if that one in the bottom middle.
That one?
That one there. You can see that's what before I put like Ultra Matte on. You can tell the color is like it's a little satin.
Yeah.
A little bit less like saturated. I don't know. The matte color, the matte varnish just like really brought it out.
Yeah. Well, a matte clear coat is going to change the appearance of the colors a little bit because like the way matte works is matte coating is very porous. So because it's meant to disperse light, so it stays matte. And it will actually kind of affect your model's colors a little bit, in that when it dries, it's going to create that porous effect, and it's actually going to like dull down some things. But also, like, it'll have it'll almost create like a subtle blend for you because it's so porous.
Yeah, but what it also did was it sort of like turned this like sort of saturated red into sort of like a bright orangey kind of like very vibrant color, and I kind of just ran with that because I thought it was very appealing. Very nice, very cool. And
these are all, I'm assuming this is all GW colors.
I believe so.
Okay.
There might be some. I like to use Vallejo matte varnish every now and then to seal it in, because actually the matte varnish is kind of satin, and it kind of looks exactly like unfinished GW like satin finish. So
you might want to try Munitorum varnish, because it's not matte, it's a satiny matte.
Yeah, I've tried that. I actually have it somewhere, I think. I guess I just don't like how it works. I just don't like how it behaves. I just like the Vallejo stuff more for some reason.
Is it too glossy for you, or?
I think so. I think it is a little more. I think so. A lot of the GW varnishes are a little glossier than what you initially think.
I found to alleviate that, hold it further out in the stream, where basically this.
You're talking about the like the spray. Oh, I'm talking about the brush on.
Oh no. I'm talking about Munitorum varnish can spray.
Yeah, I've never. And spray varnishes scare me too, because I feel like I'm gonna end up getting like what is it? The when you get like it starts silvering, I think a little bit, like there's like air trapped underneath.
Oh, you got to give.
I've seen it. I've seen people frost their miniatures. It's like it's been through like a winter storm because they spray it, and it's like the medium like kind of like binds up on the surface, and
you kind of have to like let it, like in the winter time, like when I'm outside spraying, like I'll do a coat around the model and then give it about 35 seconds to a minute, and then shoot it again. I'll usually do like 3 coats. And then just let it sit on my desk, and it's going to take forever to outgas. But after like a couple of days, if you want to take it outside again and hold it at the very end of the stream and dust it, that will actually create a pure matte effect on it. And you shouldn't run into that issue where you're getting frosting. It's just if you overcoat it, you're going to wind up getting frosting, because the clear underneath is not going to have anywhere to outgas to. Basically, when it dries and it releases its
gotcha.
bonding agents. It's not going to be able to outgas, so it's just going to outgas into the layer on top, and that's going to create that frost effect.
Yeah,
but I mean, you got to go thick with that. What's up?
Yeah, it just scares me. I don't varnish my models really at all. I just go raw with it. So I don't for the like the little bit it'll be handled. I don't think the varnish is worth it to me, to be honest. But that's just my, again, personal preference. If you want to varnish your models, go for it. I just find they kill sometimes, not always, they kind of unify the surfaces, and can sort of kill some of the shine on somebody like your metallics or other stuff.
I don't know, for me, like I let people handle my models. Like, I know I'm going to enter them in competitions and stuff like that, but even me, like when I pick it up, I'm going to hold the model by the model, not by the base. Yeah. And I always tell people it's clear coated so you can handle it. You're not going to rub any of the paint off. But like for guys who are doing a lot of tabletop stuff, I'm like, are you clear coating your models? No, dude, clear coat your models. Why? The amount of finger oil you're going to get on your models? Are you kidding me? You're going to eat right through the paint. Well, that happens. Guilty, yeah. Do you really want to repaint it? No, clear coat it.
I'm just scared of ruining it, but that's just me. I always handle it by the base. I know it's gonna eventually there'll be some wear and tear, but I'm okay with it, I guess.
Actually, this guy's really cool. I like this.
Yes, that was a conversion with the
shield. I was about to ask, is that a conversion?
Yeah, so I took a same with the other hand. I took a Grey Knight Paladin's hand and used that as his right hand. The extended part on the bottom is a like Grey Knight spear that got chopped off.
Oh, okay.
And then you see that there. They see that the cross hatching doesn't quite match exactly, but it's close enough. And then the shield, I cut off the handle, and I honestly most of the I think 2 of the fingers are from a Grey Knight Paladin's kit, and then the other 3 are sculpted.
One on top of the hand?
Yeah, on the hand. So
I'm sorry, on top of the hand on top of the shield. 2 or 3 of those the fingers. Yeah, on the fingers. I think 2 or 3 of those fingers are sculpted. Oh wow.
And painting does a lot to carry a poor sculpt job. I think I did okay. I did fine, but yeah.
No, dude, if you hadn't mentioned anything, I never would have guessed. Oops. Shit.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. I never would have guessed that was a conversion.
Really? Yeah. Thank you.
Or I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I wouldn't have guessed that was sculpted.
Yeah. This guy is currently not with me. I sold him, but he's I really enjoyed painting him. I mean, here's the thing. Here's when it comes to commissions, I can always repaint the model myself. Like, I mean, it's nice to have, but I can always redo it if I want to. So it doesn't hurt too much. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed painting this. This one got some of this like kind of blew me up a little bit. Like I think late 2023, it like was a very well performing post.
Yeah. Oh, he's an impressive piece. And I especially like what you did with his Crozius. That looks cool as hell.
Thank you. That's like, I mean, yeah, that's like very people like, again, this is where it goes, like people love it. Like it's like weird what people trek onto. Like that is a at least the gold is literally just a base coat and a wash. I think I don't think I did anything else.
Yeah, I've been trying to refine my metallics with my Space Wolves and getting that kind of Games Workshop look. I've been finding like I meant to ask you earlier, do you base coat like your metallics? Do you base coat in black?
Generally I undercoat in black, and so
undercoat, yeah, whatever.
Works out like that. And then if not, I don't like refine it. Like if I get overspray onto it or like random other paint on it, I don't rebase it. It just goes over whatever it is. I just make it a uniform coat. No,
I'll base in black, and then I'll coat it in like for the wolf tail holders on Space Wolves. I've been doing black and then paint shining gold or whatever the hell it's called now. Their current gold. I'll wash it down with Agrax Earthshade, recoat everything, and then do like 2 highlights, like one a 50-50 mix of shining gold and then mithril silver, and then pure mithril, like paint that on, and then pure mithril silver on the edges, and then go back like in the recesses, dot it with more Agrax Earthshade. Once that's done, I'll give it like just a really thinned out glaze coat of Agrax just to bring some of the brown back in. But I seem to be getting close to what they're doing on the box art. And on like the Logan Grimnar, I actually started layering like on the lower part of his axe, the gold circles. I actually started layering in Agrax Earthshade, and then just did the very edges in mithril silver. I'm not going to try and figure out what the hell the paint's name is anymore. But yeah, I was like, oh, God, I'm actually getting the box art look. Woo, cool.
Yeah. Do you use okay, another thing I'm disappointed GW stopped producing is the gloss shades. Like those make any metal look great. Like the gloss Reikland Flesh Shade it'll make any gold look shiny. It's just, I love it so much. It was great.
I think I gave it to my best friend. I don't think I have Reikland Flesh Shade. I think I tried it once on Flesh. I didn't like it.
Like specifically like the gloss. It it says like gloss on it.
No.
But it's like, I don't know. I love the gloss shades. It's very specific for metallics for me at least, but it just brings out the shine so much. No,
I like I said, I clear coat all my models anyway, so everything becomes the same finish. I do know, like I have observed. It was when I was trying to come up with the way I'm doing my Space Wolf painting tutorial. I have observed that like the finish of the paint that you apply and then what you apply on top of it. Like let's say you apply something that has like a satin finish and then you apply a matte to the top of it. Its behavior, the coats you put over the satin will behave differently than say starting with a matte base coat and working satin on top of that, or matte on top of matte, or satin on top of satin. So with the formula I came up with for the Space Wolves armor is that War Painter, the 2 color Runic Cobalt and Frost Blue, they dry with a satinish finish. And I was finding that I was having a harder time getting a nice kind of like smooth edge with applying the final highlight of Vallejo White, because Vallejo White does not dry matte. At least it didn't back when the bottle I have. So I was using Pro Acryl Titanium White, which is a pure matte white. And I was having trouble with that, so I switched to the Vallejo White and found that it plays better with War Painter because it's a satin. Well, for those 2 colors. Yeah. So it may have been that it made the gold look a lot better for you just because it was the behavior of one paint on top of another.
Yeah. I don't know, whatever they put in that paint, it worked out very well. And I think that is scale 75 Elven Gold, I believe.
Oh, okay.
For the crow's nest. So it's one of those scale 75 paints. It's a great metallic. Like, it looks good, but it's a bitch to work with.
It's cool to see that, like, oh, you're fine. It's cool to like it's not a big thing on YouTube. If you're saying it every other word, that's when they're like, mm-mm. But no, it's cool to see like your level of painting, but you're still doing like standard metallics, which is neat because so many people, they get into the non-metallic metallics and then just stay there. They never do metallics again. And I'm old school. I like metallics.
I like just metallics too. Yeah. Oh, here's this guy. Don't look at the base. It's disgraceful.
What? Not your base. It doesn't detract from the model.
No, not really. It's not. That's not horrible. But like, I could. I think I phoned it in a little bit. But yeah, no. This is another great model that I enjoyed painting. I mean, generally, I use similar techniques. Oh, I love painting red. Oh, this is all. This is mostly corn red and inky by darkness, and then I used AK. It's like bright red or something. It's like a really bright, like sort of semi-transparent AK paint, and it just like you can just like glaze it forever. It'll never become fully opaque. It just is great for glazing. And then I used it to like also line each edge. It's just. And all the scratches. I love the micro scratches. That's do you follow NRM Paints? I think Nicholas Ruben Mortensitter. I forget. He has a long name, but he does great non-metallic metal and like reflections and stuff, and he loves his micro scratches. So I guess I sort of got a little inspired from that. But yeah, the red is fun. This is it's just an overall fun miniature to paint. I love the Black Templars. They're so cool. Love the color scheme. Black, red, and cream. What could go wrong?
Well, like I said, I'll send you that. My last guest who did the Black Templars. I don't think I haven't gone through and done chapters in his video yet, so I haven't scheduled it for release. But I mean, it's not going to come out until I think late August. So I'll send you the link. I think you'll really like his style of Black Templars.
Yeah,
I like your Krieg.
Thank you. This was the like green there is a scheme I got from I think he's an heavy metal painter that like posts kind of semi infrequently on Instagram. Connor Richardson. What's his name? ConCon73. He's a great painter. I got that recipe from him for the green. It's super easy. I spray everything that green color. I shade, I think, just with Castellan green. Then I shade again with Rhinox hide to like sort of dirty it up. That's what I found with like guard and everything. You don't necessarily have to shade it with like black. A lot of time you can kind of just wash in like Rhinox hide into the recesses, and it'll do just good enough, and it'll also look dirty. So it's like
it's basic color theory. Like you generally kind of don't want to shade with black because it'll dull. Yeah. It'll really dull out what you're using. I mean, there's times where it's applicable. It's great for like bringing red down, but black is just it's a dulling color.
Yeah. With the Krieg, at least, I also like spend a little more time. I mean, you should do this if you're like want to paint fast. Spend more time on the head and shoulders. So like the face mask, I definitely made sure I put more effort into that. The eyes, the little metallic lenses and everything around that. These guys probably take me about, I would say, I could probably nail one in like maybe a day and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, and normally when I'm doing that day and a half, that's like I finish like 2 of the torsos, and then I just paint the arms and helmet separately. Okay. So probably a day and a half. They're pretty quick to go. They're not that bad. I sort of have it down to a science with the recipe.
I haven't tried. I'm not big on I don't like a lot of cloth and just Imperial Garden. Yeah. It never really appealed to me. Like the Krieg, I'm like they look cool, but I don't want to paint them.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I have to paint at least 10 more that I have in box right now, but eventually I'll probably have to paint way more than that.
Well, that kind of goes to a point of our like what we were talking about earlier in the episode, where like you come up with like a system in your head for how you want to do something, and you just keep repeating that system. And I told a good buddy of mine, he's really big into orcs, and he's got like 4,000 points worth of orcs he's got to paint up, but he's starting to get what I was talking about in that. You paint one, you come up with a system, you get all your colors together, and the more that you work with that system, by the time you're on your 15th model, it's going to take you like a quarter of the time that it took you for your first one, because you've gotten the whole thing down, and now you're into the point where you're modifying steps to where like things become a lot more efficient.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I've definitely been seeing myself doing that with this, where I'm like, base coating like multiple minutes at a time, even if I'm not going to paint them all at the same time, just getting that efficiency out of the way.
Yeah.
All that done. I figured out that Baneblade Brown is relatively covering. It's not a great like tan paint. It's okay. But Carrick Stone, it will not cover anything.
Well,
it is
like
great for glazing.
Any browns that are more toward the yellow side, they're mixing with a yellow base, so it's always going to be thin.
So like I did originally do Carrick Stone for like the base, and I'm like, this is not working. I'll switch to Baneblade Brown and highlight with Carrick Stone later on, and it sped it up a little bit. That's what I did. The recipe for the face mask and the little backpack. I don't know what it is. Bed roll, I guess, are like basically the same colors. It's just I took one a little farther, I guess, with the highlights.
I was going to bring up another Krieg while you were talking. Well, where you were just kind of going on about that. No, I like how on your like you were talking about not using blacks to shade. I like how you brought in tones of brown to shade the green with.
Yeah, no, the browns work well. Nine oxide is a really good color for doing that. It's kind of just an overall one of the better colors GW makes. And
I'm sorry, like I'm not super familiar with their paint range. Is that a layer paint or is that a contrast?
It's a base paint. It's like a very like darkish brown.
Okay.
Like sort of. It's like one of their darker browns you can get, but it thins out very well, and you can just mix it into anything; it'll work out.
Yeah, in the late 2000s, like that was my second major round of painting. When Games Workshop revamped the Space Wolves line, they kind of changed the way they painted their wolves, and instead of shading like with a darker blue, they actually started working in browns to shade the blue gray, or like the recesses in the blue gray. And I always thought it was a little weird. I tried it myself a couple times. I didn't like how it came out. But funny enough, like when I went to paint that Tau, instead of shading his face with like, I think I started out with a base coat of like a dark blue and I just worked it up. And then I wanted some like, I don't know, kind of realistic tonality of the skin. So I started shading it with a terracotta color. I think it's called like rust red or something from AK. Just like really, really thinning it out and painting it in there. And it kind of gives it a more realistic appearance, like a kind of a darker recess. And with what you did on the green, you did exactly the same thing, and I think that looks really cool. Yeah,
and it's just sort of just layered back up with some, I think straight. It's just some like brighter greens, and then eventually, very, very, very like, don't use the bright green a whole lot. Yeah. Very like conservative with it. You don't want to blow out the model.
Well, and you're going in the direction of more realism, so you're adding like a green that goes up with white instead of a green going up with yellow.
Yeah. No, I think the yellow would make it a little bit weird. That would kind of remove it from the color palette that I'm currently using.
Yeah,
it's a little out there.
Oh, for us Oldhammer folks, that was like how you highlight green. You just kind of bring it up with like yellows and stuff like that. But that was a very different time. Everything back. Go ahead.
Colder green.
Oh, I meant to ask, since you're so into Imperial Guard, do they still make Catachan jungle fighters?
It's probably the same models you're used to. They do. They're
ours
plastic,
were metal.
I guess. So okay, they're plastic, but they're not great.
Okay.
They're due for a refresh.
Okay.
I'm not gonna buy them until they get refreshed. Let's just put it that way. They're not the greatest. They're still old. They are weirdly proportioned, and the Games Workshop box art for them is just not doing them any justice. They're not anything.
Oh, that guy's cool. I like this dude.
Yeah, look at that guy. Jump Cap, another Black Templar.
Yeah.
In this case, the yellow I think actually is a nice little pop of color. I don't know what you use for yellow, but I pretty much just do like a white base coat and an Imperial Fist contrast. It's just such a good yellow.
You're actually you're one of the first Newhammer painters I met that just said something really powerful. And a lot of like Newhammer painters, when they see my painting tutorials and how I explain how I do yellows and reds, they're like, "What? You actually undercoated your yellow in white?"
Yeah. Oh, if you don't do anything for yellow, if you like paint yellow over black, it'll turn green and like look weird. And it'll take a million coats. It's horrible. But yeah, and
go ahead.
Yeah, the Imperial Fist contrast paint is a really good contrast. It's highly pigmented. Mm-hmm. You can do like multiple coats and it'll just get more solid. It's just a really good paint overall.
It's more of a cold yellow than it is a warm yellow, isn't it?
I think it depends on what you put under it. So if you do white under it, I think you do one layer, it'll be sort of colder. But I think the more you put over it, you can it'll sort of warm up.
Yeah. I primarily use aerial yellow for my yellows, and it's a nice warm yellow. But I like that cartoony look to yellows as opposed to like a cold yellow.
I don't know. Yeah, it's just what I had on hand, so I just decided to use it. The bronze on the shoulder pads and like the chest plate and everything are is also a mix of scale 75 metallics. Like I love the scale 75 metallics. If they weren't just such like the mediums weren't so bad, like they would be my number one, I think. Because like look at that color, it's just like so shiny and so like saturated. It's just a great color.
Did you put a wash on that with anything like Agrax or Earthshade?
I think I did a couple passes of Reichland Flesh Shade and then some gloss and I think Rhinox Hide.
Okay.
I don't remember too much, but I think that's what I did.
I just found a contrast color. Like I've been wanting, like, growing up we had inks. We didn't have the colors. The washes now are very different than the washes we had when I was young. We had inks. We didn't have contrast and shades. The biggest difference is now, like with contrasts are close to inks, like in their pigmentation and like how dark they go on. But contrast paints and shade paints now have acrylic medium in them. So growing up we had inks and they didn't have acrylic medium in them. They were inks. So you could actually reactivate them if you weren't careful.
Yeah.
But I have been dying to get my hands on something that resembles Citadel's old brown ink. And I think I finally found it. It's called Wildwood, I think. It's a contrast color.
The contrast paint? Yeah. No, I think that's a decent color.
Yeah,
all of Citadel's contrasts are decent, to be honest.
Well, like I had Gorgonta Fur, that was too red. Snakebite Leather, I hate that name because that's not Snakebite Leather from what I grew up with. Snakebite Leather was too yellow. Agrax Earthshade was close to brown ink. It just wasn't as thick, like as far as pigmentation. And then I found.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Keep going. Oh, I think old recipe Agrax, like pre 2022, would probably be what you're looking for, but they turned it into essentially a watered down contrast. But,
I found like I only have a couple. I only have Noan Oil and Agrax, but I find that Agrax is a lot more pigmented than Noan Oil is.
Yeah, I generally agree. My Agrax is really glossy. I don't know why. Actually, I have old recipe Agrax, like before they put them into the smaller bottles.
Yeah, I heard they like kind of. Well, mine's a tall bottle, but it dries with like a satiny kind of little slightly glossier finish. So like, but I heard there was kind of a big shift with certain colors, including Agrax Earthshade. That's the one that's most commonly referred to. But
yeah,
I wouldn't know because I bought Agrax Earthshade January of 24. So.
Oh, huh. Well, so they're in tall bottles, but like there's like the super tall. Like there's like these ones, right? The contrast paint ones, and there's like the tall ones. They're like bigger.
Yeah, I
like
don't
this is
have
what
any
the
of
old
those.
shade paints used to come in, like this size bottle. So like,
isn't that the bottles they use for the airbrush paints now?
So the airbrush paints I think are discontinued. I don't think they're making those anymore, but I think so.
They had them at my Warhammer, so I don't know if it's like new old stock or what.
I don't know because actually no, I think they might. I don't know. If they are being still made, then it's not very popular. But I distinctly remember maybe I'm thinking about is they got rid of like a specific like set of colors, so they just got rid of those ones. But like at my old store, they had like a bunch of like clearance like airbrush paints. So that's what I just assumed. But maybe it's just those specific colors.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. The old like tall like even taller bottle Agrax is like. I guess might be what you're looking for, but I don't know. They don't make it anymore, so. Oh, I'm not sure.
I tried a couple of War Painters speed paints. I forgot they have some weird names for them, like mid-tone, hard tone, whatever that's called. I don't like those at all. Bought a couple of various browns from a Games Workshop. Like I said, I landed on Wildwood or whatever it's called. I actually really liked it. I was using it last night. I was experimenting with it a week ago when I bought it. I bought Pro Acryl's brown wash, which was too shade paint for me. It wasn't what I was thinking it was going to be, and I'm just glad I landed on that Wildwood because it works exactly. It's 90% close to the brown ink that I'm used to.
Gotcha.
So
what's different about it? Is it like
just the color? It's a little bit.
Okay.
It's a little. It's like maybe 3 to 5% darker than the brown ink I was used to.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, like we had for browns, we had flesh wash, we had chestnut, and we had brown wash. And like chestnut's kind of like that's more like Gorgonta fir. Flesh wash is more akin to like modern day snakebite leather, and then brown wash is close to wildwood. There's one brown left that I need to try that's a darker brown. I'm just gonna buy it and just try it out and see how it works.
All right. Yeah.
I forgot the name of it. You probably know exactly what I'm talking about if I figured it out.
Maybe.
You'll have to come to Vegas and go with me to the Games Workshop store so I can figure out what the hell I'm looking at.
When I get my life together, I will. I want to go to the LVO at some point.
Oh yeah, dude, it's fun. I
definitely want to go at some point.
Literally the night that I went to a shop across town that had Vallejo paints, there was a guy who's like, "Oh, are you going to LVO this weekend?" I was like, "I have no idea what that is." And he's like, "Oh, Las Vegas Open. It's a big wargaming thing." And I was like, "Do they have a painting competition?" He's like, "Well, I think so." And that was before
Golden Demon normally.
What's that?
Isn't it normally Golden Demon at LVO?
No.
Oh no, that's Adepticon.
That's Adepticon.
I'm thinking that. Is it? Yeah. Is it? What is it? Crystal Brush? Is that a thing anymore?
No, LVO was. I don't know who was doing it prior,
just like
but
their own thing.
This year, a local museum called Verco's Vault took over the painting competition and made it way more organized. There's a lot more representation there. But yeah, last year I was like, no, I'm just getting back into this. You know, it's a little overwhelming. I think I'll wait until next year, and I'm glad I waited until this year because I was like, okay, now I've got kind of a better idea of what's going on. And I walked in.
Isn't there another one? Sorry, go ahead.
I walked into LVO and it was still overwhelming. Like being there, like I was kind of rushed to get there, and as soon as I got there, entered my model and had a Jameson, I was fine. But the whole weekend was just such a blast. I spent I don't game, so I was in the vendor's room the whole weekend and kind of popping into some of the painting classes, and it was really cool. And I'm looking like the venue they were at the Rio's gotten weird about events, so LVO had to find a new venue, so they found a place about 6 or 7 minutes away on the 15 called World Market Center, and they moved it there, but the only slot they could get was in October, so we have 2 LVOs this year.
Yeah, no, I saw that. It's the first I know that's good.
I'm excited. I'm like, I got 2 in a year. Sweet.
Yeah, do it.
But they're going back for the painting competition. I don't know how many of the vendors will be back this year, but I'm guessing next year it will be just the way it's normally is. And I
imagine there'll be a decent amount of vendors.
Yeah. And the neat thing was like seeing like all the small little vendors, like the guys doing like the 3D sculpted and 3D printed stuff. There was a guy selling a writer selling a book called Dust that I picked up. It's really good. Guys make making like some cosplay crafts like swords and armor and stuff like that. It was just a wide variety, and like all the major paint brands were there, so I got to chat with all those guys. It was a lot of fun. And if you're into gaming, you're into painting, I mean, you bring an army down, play, see how you do, but also bring something to enter in the painting competition. Yep,
I gotta do that at some point. I've never entered a painting competition, or
Really?
been to a convention for that matter. Yeah, I just haven't there's never been a time where there's been a painting competition that there hasn't been one easily accessible.
You're in Florida, dude. They should have like tons of them.
Well, there's like Tampa, which I think sometimes does it. Like Tampa Open, I think sometimes has some stuff going on. But I'm a full-time college student, so
okay.
I just generally don't have the time.
I just like this guy. He's like, I'm gonna punch you in the face with my power fist.
No gun, just fist. This is another one I went like full, tried to completely emulate the heavy metal style.
Yeah.
Just no holds barred.
I'm guessing he took you a couple weeks as well.
Yeah, I painted this one right before the Blood Angel. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This was like January, I think, of 2023. Probably says January. Yeah, I did the freehand little laurels. Very satisfied with that. I got that off of a lot of the core rule books for Warhammer 40K. Will have veteran Ultramarines with little laurels painted on the side, and I thought that was cool. So
well, I mean the Ultramarines are basically the Greeks and the Romans.
Yeah,
that's where their whole shtick is, and you got Space Wolves are basically space Vikings, and Blood Angels. What the hell are they? They're supposed to be.
They're vampire like.
Yeah, they're kind of vampires, but they're also like they have an
Gothic,
Arabian influence to them because they're from the desert.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
And then Dark Angels are.
It's like knights.
Yeah, kind of like very gothic.
And like
almost
they
like
have, Native American influence too, don't they?
They kind of did. The initial Deathwing, there was a big Native American influence with what they were doing back then, but that's kind of gone away and gone more toward like the whole gothic aesthetic. I mean, they still have feathers and whatnot, but it seems like they're really big on the cloaks and the robes and like the I don't know, like the like wizards and druids kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I gotcha. They're not that dissimilar from Black Templars. Well, Black Templars are like more fanatic, kind of zealotous.
The Black Templars always reminded they remind me of the Knights of Templar from like the Crusades and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean,
and big
I don't think
influence
that's a
with
coincidence.
that. What's that?
Yeah, I don't think that's a coincidence, right? It's a very big influence.
Yeah, it's funny seeing so many like all the cultures that have influence on the different Space Marines. I mean, basically the Krieg of the Germans.
Yeah, and kind of French a little bit too. Like they're like a weird amalgamation of like World War I soldiers.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very cool. That's also another reason I like the Guard is their real world influence.
Mm-hmm. Well, I meant to ask you, like, so for your shading at the bottom of your armor on like the leg plates and stuff, what did you use?
Yep. I want to say that was probably just Abaddon Black, to be honest. Maybe mixed in with a little bit of McCrag Blue. I think I just took the base coat and some black and thinned it down a lot.
Did you just layer glaze it on?
I think I'm pretty sure that's all I did. Okay. I don't think it was like that fancy. I think that's basically it.
Okay.
You just got to be patient, I guess. And I think McCrag Blue is one of those colors where it's pretty forgiving with glazes.
Is that a base color?
It's not. Yes, it is.
I never got like their new base colors. I tried them out. I can't get the hang of them.
I don't very much care what it's called, to be honest. When I'm painting, I sort of just grab the color I want. It's not if it's a layer, I'll just do more layers to like base color something. The
base colors are they're replacements for foundation paints. Mm-hmm. And the foundation paints used to play really well with water, and I found that the base paints are a little pissy with water.
I don't know. I don't think I've had too much of a problem with them. I won't even look at the bottle to see if it's a layer or a base or not. I'll just grab it and just
you go off the color
around with it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, AK actually has three or four different types of paint. Like if you notice the circle on the AK logo on the bottle, it's a color. It's like a yellow or an orange.
Oh yes.
That denotes like there's a yellow orange. I think there's a blue.
Intense modeling colors versus like acrylic modeling colors. What is this?
Yeah. Well, like the black, I think is an orange color, and then like the normal colors are yellow. And the black, I learned with the black you can actually reactivate it.
My white is yellow, and most of my other colors are orange. So I'm not. And then my steel, my metallic is blue. Interesting, weird.
Yeah,
I've never noticed that before at all.
My AK black is a yellow label. I think that's meant to be like heavy pigmentation.
Yeah, that's what I think. That would make sense.
And then like the orange labels are more akin to like layer colors from Citadel.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm going to wrap this up. And for anybody who I've been kind of scrolling through his models, but anybody who wants to go check out Parker's models, I mean, go have at it. He's got some really cool stuff to look at. Yep. And, when he's got time, he'll actually take commissions. You got to DM and ask him.
Yeah,
but
very selective on what commissions I take. It's only something I want to do. I'm not going to pay anything.
And I mean, you sound like, like I said earlier in the show, you sound like you're very open and easy to approach.
DM me anytime. I'll answer. I pretty much answer any of my DMs that I get. And
I haven't. You're actually the first like Newhammer painter that I've had on the show. So this has been this has actually been educational for me to pick your brain a little bit. And it's been kind of cool to talk to somebody who's only been in the hobby for 4 or 5 years that is strictly kind of going for the modern hammer heavy metal look. Mm-hmm. Which is, it's not a bad thing. It's just I haven't really had a chance to interview somebody like you like that. But with the final portion of the show, as I told you in the break, do you want to do any shout outs?
Yeah, so I'll like to shout out my home store, Huzzah Hobbies, Northern Virginia.
Huzzah.
Huzzah. If you're ever near like Arlington, Alexandria, Reston, Vienna, Oakton, just any of those Fairfax County, any of those areas. Huzzah Hobby is a great place to go to. Big Warhammer scene, big like pretty much anything scene. There's a big Magic scene. Most GW games are represented there. There's a Discord. I'm sure you'll find it if you go there. Like to shout out the guy who runs it, Andrew. He's a very generous and very nice guy who organizes a lot of events. Jim, another guy who was instrumental for me getting into Warhammer. We don't talk too much anymore, but since I moved away, but he's a very good, nice guy. Always love to play against him. And finally, I don't got much else to shout out, but maybe my friend Alex, who's a great person who I got into Warhammer a couple of years ago, who has been, I guess, a good person to like bounce ideas off of and talk to.
Those are always great to have.
Yep, always need one at least.
Well, again, thank you very much for coming on the show at such short notice. I really do appreciate it. It's been a blast to talk to you. And there was a couple of people you mentioned earlier in the show. I'll have all the information down in the information box below. I'm rambling, but again, thank you, Parker, for coming on. And I'm going to switch over to my ending screen. And if you guys want to check out any of my other videos, here's a couple more to look at, a podcast, hopefully the Space Wolves painting tutorial. And until the next podcast, I'll talk to you guys in a bit.